like right now, which was perfect. Perfect. No, I was not pointing to Rob and saying perfect. Yeah.
What, Lonzo? What is it? What was that about?
Kyler Murray's this tall.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back, baby! Welcome in the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Good morning, Upstate South Carolina. Good morning, America. Hello, world. What's happening? How y'all doing? We're back in studio after a pair of spectacular days broadcasting live from Charlotte, North Carolina. We return to the mean streets of the Upstate, baby.
He is so happy that he can yell again.
Talk like a normal person?
No, talk like you. And you look at you, he's glowing because he doesn't have to worry about his level because I can control it all over here. And I got headphones on, so my hair will move on occasion. But like,
what was that old RCA or Panasonic commercial with the dude sitting
oh yeah,
in the chair?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Whatever it was, I think it was it for Bose? I don't know.
No, this commercial is from like decades
ago.
I know.
I do know what you're talking about. And he like puts his headphones on or something, and then boom, it hits him.
Let's see. Maxwell's what's it? Maxwell. Maxwell?
Is it Maxwell?
Maxwell.
Is there a W
in
it?
Maxwell, you're right.
Yeah, I don't think there was a W in there.
It is Maxwell. Maxwell in 1979 created the clip of the dude rocking leather sitting in that really, really low chair, turning on his high fidelity stereo system.
So you only recognize it from the history books.
Correct.
That's why.
I was negative 6 years old when that commercial dropped, so it would have been hard to see it live.
Let's see, 1979.
Was nary a glimmer in my father's eye at that point.
I would have been 10.
I wasn't. You were driving when I was born.
Maybe. You don't know I got my license.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad to be back. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us the last couple of days. We had a great time up in the Queen City, not just at ACC Media Days, which was genuinely a good time. And we appreciate the ACC. Specific thanks out. I had to tell you, this was kind of rad. Specific thanks out to the Clemson staff that helped us out when we were there. I mean, obviously, when we get there, it's, let me put it this way. Last year, when we set all of this up, when we set the ACC Media Day up, they sent us a little form. And they said, fill out the names of the guests that you want. Start with the ones that are most relevant to the school that you cover, and then work your way down. And we will get you who we can get you based on your priority ranking and availability. And so...
Wait a minute. According to your priority, is that like importance?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I wanted to make. Okay.
So, and this may shock you, but there are some people out there who don't consider us the most important media agency at that event.
I apologize for sounding like Renfield. You might get that. You might not. Yeah, it's about where I expected. But all things considered, you still got.
Yeah, we got DJ.
Yeah.
We got...
and I'm guessing he wanted to come back because he recognized you right away, and there was a level of comfort talking to you. So he enjoyed his time the year before, you could tell.
Last year when I met DJ, it was a handshake. This year it was the side... What do you call it when you go like side hands, like the
I call it uncomfortable.
like the predator handshake?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
you mean the cool handshake?
Yeah.
Is it a bro shake?
I don't know what you call it. Right? There's got to be a name for
the
it.
same one where was it in Predator?
Yeah.
When Arnold and Carl Weathers did the
that's
thing.
What I'm talking. That's exactly what exactly. What do they call it? Anyway, DJ walked up and gave me that one. So last year they sent the registration form and he said, I want DJ, or I want Dabo, DJ, whoever, blah, 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 blah. And you go down the list. Skalski, whatever. And last year we were able to add a bunch of names. Wes Durham got on there. Mark Richt got on there. And we got those guys as we went through ACC Media Days. Well, they did not send that to us this year. So I got there.
I got to interrupt. It is a bro handshake.
It's a bro shake?
And when you look it up, they show a cartoon of basically Arnold and Carl Weathers.
I mean,
that's a bro handshake. Yeah.
So we got there this year, and I went in under the assumption that no one had filled out that form, right? Because I didn't get it. Now, for the sake of shirking responsibility, I am also not the one who registered us this year like I have in years past. So I don't know if we got that paperwork and didn't get it, or it got lost in the shuffle because we got a billion things going on.
Or if maybe you request guests by show, possibly.
No idea.
And maybe someone didn't request guests for this show.
No idea.
Could be.
So I went in with our buddy Owen Watterson. And again, I do want to send a big thank you out to Owen. He busted it for us the last 2 days. But I went in under the assumption that it might just kind of be a free-for-all this year, right? Well, I got there, and I spoke to the organizing lady from the Atlantic Coast Conference, and I was like, hey, do I just grab guys on the floor? And she's like, no, you have an interview sheet. You should have time scheduled. I was like, I do not have that. And she goes, oh. And that was a response, right? Oh. I'm like, crap. So I go back to the table, and I'm like, Owen, our back's against the wall, big guy. We don't have interviews scheduled. We are going to have to hustle and ask a lot to get guys. So I'm like, this is not ideal. It's not ideal. Well, we're about to go live about 8:45 or so, and our buddy Ross Taylor, who is the SID, assistant AD, and football communications expert at Clemson, right? I see him walk in, and he's walking with Dabo. So he brings in Dabo, and he sets Dabo down at the table across from us for his first interview of the day. And I'm like, Ross, I know you're busy, big dog. I apologize. Can we get somebody, right? Like, we didn't get the sheet to fill out and request guests. Obviously, we want to put you guys on since we're here and you're here. Can I get somebody? And he opens his little binder up, and he looks down, and what's he got on the sheet, Zoe, but the Rob Brown Show 1015 and then a name, and then the Rob Brown Show 1045 and then a name. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome, man. He looks at me, he goes, yeah, I figured you were going to be here, and I'd figure you want somebody, so we just went ahead and scheduled some guys for you.
That's cool. That really is cool.
So Ross knew we were going to be there, even though we hadn't really, we had announced it. I don't know if you heard that or not. And Ross knew, obviously, we wanted to get some Clemson guys on. So my guy Ross Taylor, just because we were there, went ahead and didn't just schedule us, but scheduled us with arguably the two most important position players on the field, and starting offensive left tackle Jordan McFadden and starting quarterback DJ Uiagalelei, right? He could have handed me an SID or somebody. But he's like, yeah, here's the two most important offensive players we brought. And he put us on the schedule just because we're us. Yeah, I kind of thought that was awesome. And then yesterday, and this was great, we were sitting at the table yesterday. Don Munson's walking around. Now, yesterday was not Clemson's day. Everybody else from Clemson was gone. I'm sitting at the table yesterday. We are ending the 9 o'clock, going into the 10 o'clock hour. And Don Munson, the voice of the Tigers, walks up and goes, Rob Brown, how you been, buddy? Good, man. How you doing, Don? I'm good. Do you need me while I'm here? I'm like, can I get you for a minute? He goes, absolutely, whatever you need. He goes, give me about 20 minutes. I got one more to do. I'll come right back. I said, fine. So Don picked us out. All I'm saying is this. We're making noise, Lonzo. That's all I'm saying. We're making noise. The voice of the Tigers and the assistant AD and football communications manager for Clemson both just went ahead and scheduled us because they knew we were going to be there and wanted to make sure we got some time to shine.
Well,
Gotta like that.
I'm going to avoid a noise joke here. Just because. And I want to clarify, the ACC lady that you talked to was not the lady from the ACC network.
No.
Because those are two different people.
Correct. The lady who came over and told me to shut the hell up was a producer from the ACC network. And if you missed that story, that was on Wednesday. Wednesday, we interviewed DJ. DJ comes and sits down at the table, walks over, daps me up, bro shakes me up. And by the way, bro shake, but then did the pull in for the one-arm back hook. DJ was like, yeah, dude, I remember you from last year, which was cool. You know, we had a good conversation with him last year, had some laughs. He came up. He's like, man, how you been? I remember you from last year. We had a good time. I'm like, yeah, we did. You ready to do it again? He's like, hell yeah, absolutely. And threw the headsets on. Like, I didn't even ask. He just was like, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Which was awesome.
All right. I need some clarification. So if you do the bro shake and you don't flex, is it still a bro shake? Do you have to?
I don't think you can do that and not flex.
Because there's some impact involved. Yeah. If not, you're probably going to break your hand or something.
The harder the hands come together, the bro are the bros, right? And by the way, just so we're clear, the bro shake is on the table for anybody, right? The bro shake's on the table for anybody, but the harder the claps, the bro or the bro. And bro, for me, by the way, is an all-inclusive term. I got some women in my life who are absolute bros, and I love them for it, right? So DJ walks over, gives me the bro 5 and the pull-in for the back pat. And let me tell you, as a brief aside, DJ looks svelte. Dude looks good, like in shape. DJ looks like that type of in shape that when he walks up, you're like, damn, I should work out. DJ looks so in shape that I didn't do it, but I considered going to the hotel gym when I got down with the Charlotte game. I got back Wednesday night from Charlotte, Chelsea, walked into the hotel and was like, damn, I should work out. DJ looked good in a 4-piece. I should work out. I didn't. I went to bed. Anyway, DJ sits down. We get into the conversation. We're laughing. We're having a good time. And by the way, and I got to tell you, immense respect for DJ Uiagalelei because I told him my criticisms, right? I have said for many years, unlike some big-time dudes in the media, if you're going to criticize a guy on the air, you should be willing to say it to his face. So I said to DJ's face, I'm like, here were my thoughts last year. I didn't think you were excellent with finesse on the ball. I think there were times that the speed of the offense got away from you a little bit last year. Do you agree? And if so, how did you correct? And he was very polite. He said, I disagree with you, but I also understand, and here's what the offseason looked like for me to try to rectify what we considered my problems last year. Thought it was a great interview. We laughed, we cut up, we had some fun, we LOL'd a bit here and there. And then he got up. We got done with the interview. And when I got done with the interview, there was a young lady standing at the corner of the table. No name tag or anything, so I don't know who this person is, but a young lady standing at the corner of the table. Well, with all due respect to everyone else, but when I get done having an interview with the starting quarterback of the Clemson Tigers, when I finish that interview and the headsets come off, what do? Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Great interview. Thanks for the insight. Thanks for the communication. Glad we did it. Let's get you on during the regular season. All the pleasantries. And then you turn and you chat with the Clemson staff. Ross was right there. Some of the other SIDs were there. You turn. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hooking that up. Couldn't have done that without you. Yada, yada, yada. Because those type interviews, those are the interviews that, aside from winning Crystal trophies, validate you, right? Validate you. Anybody can go sit in a mic and talk. What can you bring on the radio that's more than just, here's how I feel? So thanks to Clemson and Ross and yada, 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 yada. So those guys turn because DJ's got, 12 other interviews to do. And they turn and they walk away. And I turn back to this lady who is still standing there. And she's like, hey, we are picking you up on our microphones. Can you turn down the volume a bit, please? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Now, because I'm non-confrontational and polite, I was like, okay, yeah, got it. Sure. And then I watched her walk away because in my head, my immediate thought was, who the hell are you? Right? Like there are legitimately, I'm going to say in the ballpark of 40 to 45 radio stations broadcasting.
By the way, some of those other people pretty loud too, because you could hear them through our microphone.
100%.
Yeah.
So there's in the ballpark of 40 to 45 radio stations, and I would say on any given rotation, morning show, mid-morning show, this slot, lunchtime show, or afternoon show, Mark Ryan's slot, between live radio programs and people recording podcasts, at any given moment, there's 20 to 25 radio stations doing shows. And my thought was, when this woman comes over and asks me to be quiet, who the hell are you, right? There are 25 radio stations and podcasts being recorded right now, and he just walked over and singled me out. So I assumed that she must be with one of the radio stations at one of the, 9 tables that are directly around me.
This is one of those. There's a couple of ways that you could have handled this. If I were you, I probably would have handled it the same way you did. But you should have grabbed a pen and said, hey, I didn't bring my 8x10s. If you need an autograph, though, wait till after the show. You could have did that, which would have been, kind of.
Didn't bring my headshots.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah. But I appreciate your fandom of the show, but I'm getting ready to go back on the air. And then just put your headset on and start talking.
To nobody.
Loudly.
Not even on the air.
Loudly.
Yet.
Oh, we were on stream, so technically you were on. The other thing you could do is go to the higher ups in Odyssey, since you are you're a big deal. You've got a nationally syndicated show tomorrow. You also have a Panther podcast coming up that's going to be distributed nationally. Yep. So you're a big deal. Not to mention you're an award winner here in the state of South Carolina, and you can talk about the ill treatment that you got being singled out in the entire room in the ACC, and ask one of our legal people to
protect me next year.
To send them a strongly worded email.
Fair enough. So this lady walks away, and I'm like, who the hell are you, right? I don't know you. There's 9 radio stations around me. I am working under the assumption that she's from one of them. I'm assuming that she's from one of them, and, I'm interrupting their radio broadcast. And I am a nice person. I'm a considerate person. So I'm like, all right, I can bring it down a little bit, but I'm not going to stop being me. And I watch her walk away because I want to know where she goes. Now, at the table to my left was our direct Greenville competition. And at the table to the front left was our direct Spartanburg competition. So I watch her walk away, and she's walking in the direction of those tables. And I'm like, if she's from one of those two organizations, I'm going to get louder. I'm going to be like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The Rob Brown Show's on the Fan Upstate, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. But she walks past those two tables, and she walks right over to the ACC network television set, and then goes full stereotype, puts on the one headset, like the one earpiece headset. You know what I'm talking about? Where one ear's out, one ear's got a phone on it. And a clipboard. Because do you even work in TV if you don't have a clipboard, bro? And then starts directing traffic for the ACC network's television programming. Now, even that would not have been a big deal. Except for the ACC TV network was about 40 to 45 feet away from where my table was when I was broadcasting. So I'm like, all right, if they're picking, and I think I explained this on Thursday's show, the microphones that the talent on the ACC network use are, they call them unidirectional microphones, right? Unidirectional mics, which means they only pick up sound coming from one direction. You have omnidirectional, which is where they pick up the sounds coming from any direction. And then you have unidirectional, which only pick up the sound coming from one particular spot. Like this mic right here, this is multi-directional, so I can turn it and twist it and turn it, and the sound doesn't change because it picks up sound from everywhere. But the headset mics we use and the mics they were using on that set are unidirectional, and they are pointed directly at your mouth. So the only sound that they pick up are your talking, and then sounds that are bouncing around the wall and are in the neighborhood of the volume of your talking, which meant that my talking from 40 to 45 feet away was louder than the host on the ACC network when they were also talking. I was like, all right, yep, probably got to chill that out. If only because I don't need the ACC net grabbing ESPN's lawyers and them telling the ACC, hey, yo, don't let this dude show up again next year because he overpowers the room, which I've been told I do every now and then.
See, I'm not so sure that they would or could do that. And maybe if they tried, I would be curious, though, if they did, if our lawyers would have come to your aid. Because you're just there doing your job. And if they're ill-prepared for that, that's on them. It's not on you. And they hindered our broadcast by coming over and putting their heavy hand on you, trying to get you to do your show differently. So they affected our product, and it bothers me. It does. If I were there, I would have let my hair down and looked really intimidating, and I would have been your in-between, go-between, whatever, and she wouldn't have gotten to you. And I would have said, yeah, okay, we can hear your TV broadcast from here. I'm doing everything I can to keep it out of our microphones.
But can you tune it down?
Could you tune it down? If you tune it down, we'll tune it down. But if I still hear you when we go back on the air, nothing changes over here.
Here's the thing. I absolutely did not hear them. I did not hear them at all.
Yeah, but your ears aren't my ears.
Fair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have got another 2 hours, and we'll call it 39 minutes of broadcast excellence coming your way. Rashad Beard, who ordinarily joins us on Thursdays because we were out of commission yesterday, is going to join us today. That's coming up in about 10 minutes or so. So we got to take a real quick break. We'll come back with a real quick story, real quick segment, and then we'll jump into Rashad and finish that out for the first hour of the show. Second hour of the show, you know, we never really got, and I know it's been a couple of days now, and I don't even know if you guys care anymore, but we never got to our All-Star Game breakdown. We kind of just ran right by it because of the timing. So we'll talk about that, plus a couple of interesting things that happened while we were at Charlotte. The Charlotte FC v. Chelsea match. Talked about it very briefly, but not the match itself. We'll talk about that. And we got some college football predictions for you later in the show. Stick around, don't go anywhere. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo's on the other side of the metaphorical glass. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate. All right, what's up, stream? Good morning, everybody. Welcome in.
You should have said, listen, Missy. That is your name, right?
Listen, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. We please have the AC lady come check Rob's volume. No, see, I'm across.
Oh,
from Lonzo.
I didn't see you down there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that one up. My man Brandon said, did you not bring your trophy? I didn't even think to bring the trophy. I should have brought the trophy. I should have brought the trophy and for no reason pointed it directly to the left. For no reason. Skrilla, welcome in. Happy Friday, big bog. Good to have you. Appreciate it. It's like Jericho used to say, it's a conspiracy by the WCW. They don't even give you a sheet to schedule interviews. You're the 2021 South Carolina Sports Radio award-winning show. I know. I got to assume they were just like, Rob doesn't need any more help. He's already killing the game, right? Like, he doesn't need more help.
Well, the thing is, the only one who would have the gumption to come and say that to you was a TV person.
Yeah.
Because none of the radio people would do that.
Rob, remember we are at Clemson, we're family. Welcome to the family, bro, and Zoe, even though you're the cousin 3 times removed.
All right, so I want to address this really quick. Never had a problem with the coaches personally or the players personally. We'll point out when they do things that are wrong, but it's been the Clemson fans all along. And not all of them, Trey, not all of them. But the ones that I've been in close contact with, not nice people. So you have to respond the way you have to deal with. I mean, it's the only way to survive out here in the jungle. Yo.
Trey said every network station should be thanking you for having a sliver of the award-winning show on the broadcast. Seb bringing back the boy band conversation. That never gets old.
He's wrong, by the way.
Brandon said, should have told you were just trying to give them a boost in ratings.
There you go.
Trophy in
There
hand.
you go.
Don't you know your show will be better with me?
You can't go anywhere.
Are we coming back?
In like a minute.
Oh, I have plenty of time.
Do you?
All right,
Where were you going?
I'll get an next break. Grab something out of my office.
Okay. Don't want to have a Where's Rob repeat like from yesterday.
Well, yesterday was special.
Where's Rob?
Special.
Where's Rob? I see the ACC stuff, but no Rob. You handled it the way you should have handled it, but I would have thrown something in there that she probably wouldn't have got till she got back, and you watch her put her head, and then she would have looked back over and realized what. Yeah, this
I'm too
goes.
polite.
Yeah,
I'm too polite for
well, you
that.
can do it politely,
I'm too polite for that.
or see, her being a producer, I would have had a producer discussion with her. So how does that work? How do your mics work? I've never done TV before.
Talk to me about TV.
So none of those guys around the table are being picked up because we're hearing everybody around here. It's called ambiance. I don't know if you've heard of that before.
Ambiance.
Yes, it's that's why they put crowd mics out there. Sounds like there are actually people here. I don't know why they're here. It's the ACC media days, but
Ooh. Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. 71307 is our text line. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. Texture says, FAN, in today's news, Rob is way too loud and water is wet. Yeah. Technically, water isn't wet. Technically, having water on it is what gives you the property of being wet. Like you are primarily made of water, but you are not by definition wet until you have water on you.
Could you say water is liquid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
It's more. I'm being pedantic for the sake of me laughing at it.
wow, you remind me of someone
Yeah, I
right
know.
now. I wonder what they're fixing down the hall at this moment.
Texter says, nobody listens to the other local stations anyway, so I'm not sure yelling would disrupt things for them at all. Listen, I'm not particularly worried about what they or anybody else are doing. We're going to do what we do.
But here's the thing, though. If the other radio stations act like that, I'd just take my hats off and go, hey, man, keep it down. And radio people, for the most part, are pretty cool, would probably yell back, and it would be all right. It's the TV people who just think they're better than us. And that ticks me off. You're not better than us just because you're prettier, which you're not, but you think you are. And you ain't even in front of the camera. Go back and put your headset on, lady.
I will, lady. I will also tell you that. And furthermore, I've been in radio 15 years, and everywhere
You
I've
should have
gone-
asked Owen to go over and talk to her and say, "Hey, you
Right,
guys
right.
are a little bit
Can
too
you guys
loud.
keep
Could
it
you guys
down?"
please keep it down?"
ACC net, you're all up in our business. The interesting thing about radio is that between personalities, between host, producers, co-hosts, for the most part, this is not entirely true, but for the most part, there's very little in the way of like personal rivalries that go on, right? In fact, I would go so far as to argue the rivalries are much more conflict fueled within radio stations than between radio stations, right? I mean, in my experience, you're far more likely, and you guys know this, Mark and I butt heads all the time about conflicts we talk about on the air. We butt heads all the time. But that's intentionally, right? It's intentional. that we have two hosts that are. It would be pointless to have one host on in the morning and then another host that comes in the afternoon and says the exact same things. It'd be pointless. But
you don't have to worry about that here.
No, you don't.
You don't.
But between hosts, like when I see the host on these other stations, it's very cordial. I'm not like buddies with them. We're not drinking buddies. But it's very cordial. What's up, man? It's been good. It's good to see you. Hope everything's going well. How's the show? How's the momentum? It's very, it's very cordial between hosts. It's not between stations. Their stations want to beat ours, and we want to beat them. That part is legit. But between the hosts, we're like, hey, look, I know you're doing your job for the station that hired you. I'm doing my job for the station that hired me. Good to see you. Good luck. Have a great couple of days. That's it. So, like, the majority of the time, the stations aren't going to say anything to each other in that spot because I know you're doing your job and I'm doing mine, unless you're intentionally being a butt, right? Like, if I turned to the left and started yelling my show name at the competition doing theirs, that'd be a jerk move. But outside of that, you don't get a lot of that.
I've never seen that happen before. Have you?
No.
Never.
No, and I broadcasted a ton of live events, national championships, bowl games, regular season college games, big remotes where I've been at a remote where a sports bar hired 3 different sports talk radio stations to do a remote at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am curious, and I've been wanting to ask you this question ever since this happened. You used to be one of them. When you were one of them, talking about TV people.
Oh, yeah.
When you were one of them, is there something that happens? Is there a general thing within TV where they just automatically look down on radio?
I can't say yes or no. I didn't because I came from radio. I did radio before I went into TV.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I did radio.
So you were like a spy.
I was like a 7-year radio vet before I went into TV. So there wasn't for me. I was like, I get it. And by the way, for the record, radio is more fun. Radio's more fun. There was no animosity there. I will tell you that when you go do a live shot, like if you're a reporter on TV and you go do a live shot, most of the time, it used to be, it was you and a cameraman. And the cameraman was both your cameraman and your bouncer. Sorry, photojournalist.
Yeah, that's what producers do now.
Yeah. So you'd have your camera guy, and if you were doing your live shot and somebody came up and started acting a fool on camera, your bodyguard, your photojournalist would spin around from the back and go protect them. But now most of the work of reporters, they're their own photojournalists now. They're called MMJs, multimedia journalists, which is a really fancy way for TV stations to say, we're going to have you do 2 jobs but pay you the same.
Wow, that sounds familiar. It really does. I don't know why.
Yeah,
multimedia
journalist is now a reporter who does their own camera work. So now, it used to be as a reporter, you would call, you would set up an interview, you would go dig the scoops, go dig the scoop, get the facts, come back, put the story together, and while you're putting the story together, your photojournalist would be out shooting, and then when they were done shooting, they'd come back and they'd edit your 2-minute package together from the big game. But now they send the reporter with their own camera and their own report. You have to get your own footage. You have to arrange the interviews. You have to film the interviews. You have to film your own B-roll. You have to go back to the studio. You have to write your own story, record your own story, and edit your own story down. And then they pay you the same. It's a pain. But in that situation, if someone is disrupting, you're the one that has to walk over and be like, hey, can you chill? Can you not, right? And when you're doing TV and you've got an ambiance mic on the camera itself, if somebody is screaming like a lunatic on the other side of the room, you have to walk over and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. Can you not do that for like 30 seconds while I can? So I get where the lady was coming from.
And that always works. I just want to say, and I appreciate your understanding. It did bother you. Obviously, it bothered you. I could tell it bothered you. Everyone knows it bothered you.
Me.
The couple of times that I've had dealings with TV people on that level, they're snots. They do. And I may be considered a conspiracy guy, the guy who sees an enemy everywhere. I do not. I do not. But they look down on radio people. They absolutely do. And it's annoying because just because you're on TV doesn't mean you're better than me or better than Rob or better than anyone in that room. And I don't think they had the right to come over and say it. I don't. Unless they own the Westin in Charlotte. And even then, they rented it out. You weren't being rowdy. You were doing your job, and they disrupted your way of doing your job.
Rude.
And that bothers me. And if I ever see that lady, I'm going to give her a piece of my mind.
Fair enough.
She might be listening now. She could be a fan. Shame on you.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, the great Rashad Beard joins us here on the show, the host of the Panther Nation podcast. We'll talk a little Carolina football. Got to visit the Bank of America for the first time. BOA this weekend. Watch a little Charlotte FC take on Chelsea, which was freaking dope. So we'll talk a little bit of Carolina Panther football with Rashad Beard when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Not going to do that, Seb, because it was a producer. So you don't know. You know, she wasn't the on-air people, you know.
Here, I'll leave this up so you
Yeah.
can talk to them.
Yeah, leave that up. Yeah.
Top tour.
Yeah. I don't think she was old. It just this is legitimate. This is not me joking for the show. TV people do act that way towards radio people, and it's annoying. It really is. When Mark Ryan and I were there a couple years ago, the TV broadcast was fairly close to us, and Mark Ryan, not as loud as Rob, but pretty loud at the beginning of every segment because he likes making people jump, and I think it's hilarious, especially in Ingles when people are shopping and he's doing a live remote and it echoes through there and people just jump all over the place. Get your joy wherever you can. But they eyeballed us a bunch. They never came over and talked to us about it because I believe, this is just my belief, although I think I've lost some of it, that I'm so intimidating that they wouldn't come over and talk to us because, you know, I might have stood up and things might have got real. And so they didn't want any of that. So if I'd have been there with Rob, Owen's not imposing like I am. So he was there and very professional. I still think he could have rebuffed her professionally and at least made her know that he was there. And me being a contrarian, I would have started getting loud because they asked Rob to not be so loud. If they didn't ask me, I would have got loud. Some radio is difficult. It just depends on who you're dealing with, Seb. Since I'm getting older now, I probably am starting to shrink. I don't know at what age you start to shrink. Maybe like 40-something, which I'm way past. So I turned 54 in 2 months. I used to be 6'1.5", 6'4", according to when I was playing football, which, of course, not accurate, but it never is, especially in high school and the small level of college that I played at. But, yeah, 6'1.5". Rob's just a little bit taller than me. But I also slouch because it makes me look more swole.
All right, let's get a shot in here. Change the background real quick. That one. What's up, big fella?
What's going on, man? You had to pull up on somebody?
Say again, big dog.
You guys had to pull up on somebody yesterday?
Dude, I was Wednesday. I was doing my show from the ACC Media Days, and a lady from the ACC Network TV side came over and was like, yo, we are picking you up over our guys talking on our mics. Can you turn it down? I was like, no, but I'll try my best.
And then there was a whisper in his voice throughout the rest of the show, and it took away some of the energy. It did.
Yeah.
And every once in a while he would start to get a little bit louder, and then he would think about it, and he would bring it back down. So... Rashad, Steven wants to know if you're going to be at Panther Camp.
Unfortunately, I won't be. I'm going on a vacation with my wife, and I will not be there this year.
Rashad's a damn world traveler, man.
Yeah, I do. I like to travel
You've
a
been to
lot.
Disney, you've been to France.
Yeah. I was in Myrtle Beach last weekend. I don't know where we're going. My wife is going to surprise me. I don't know. I don't know where we're going, honestly.
Well, that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So I'll be at training camp like the first couple of days, and then we're flying out Friday through Monday or Tuesday. So then I'll be back the next days to go out there and watch.
So you will be there. You just won't be there for the.
I won't. Yeah. I won't be there for the big
celebration.
Saturday thing. Yeah.
Still makes me mad they moved that to Saturday because it used to be like on Thursday, and I got to go every year, and then they moved it to Saturday, and I got a show on Saturday, and there's no way I can get there and get back.
Yeah. They used to open up training camp that Saturday, and now they moved it up. They moved it up to Friday, then Thursday, and now it starts on Wednesday.
It's
But they always
confusing.
had the big event on Saturday.
Yeah. All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, Lonzo with you today. Joined now ordinarily on Thursdays, but we were caught up in ACC Media Days, so he was willing to delay it for a day, but we go to the bullpen and we welcome in the young man out of Charlotte, North Carolina. His name is Rashad Beard, one half of the Panther Nation podcast, and if you are a Panthers fan, it is a podcast you need to be subscribed to. You can grab it by subscribing and following their YouTube page. Just search Panther Nation Podcast and make sure you're on top of the game. Rashad Beard, what's up, big dog?
What's going on, fellas? Glad to be back. Always good to join you guys.
Of course, buddy. I will start with this. Bank of America is not a bad little stadium, man. It's I will tell you the layout of the
You notice
concourse.
he said little. Anytime someone puts little in there, that's kind of a diss.
No,
yeah,
it
it's
is.
not.
Right.
No, it's not.
It is.
Listen,
It is subliminal.
It's a fantastic, grand old piece of architecture.
Oh, now you're calling it old.
Can't win. Phenomenal stadium. Don't love the concourse layout, but the inside of that stadium, the presentation of the game. Now, I've not been to a Panthers game yet. I will this year. But for Charlotte FC taking on Chelsea, if the presentation of a Panthers game is anything like the presentation of that soccer match, I can't understand why there aren't more people coming out for games.
Yeah, so the stadium itself is nice. It's not a bad seat in Bank of America Stadium. So if you're at the 500 level, you always got a good view. If you're 300, 200, 100, obviously, so there's not a bad seat. But I'll say the difference between the Charlotte FC fan experience versus the Panthers experience is that there's obviously we can't have the firework. You can't do all of the seat thing with the smoke and all that stuff that they're doing. There's a lot of things that we can't do as fans at a Panthers game that you can do with Charlotte FC. It's just different rules from the NFL to MLS. So I would say, and I've heard this, that the Charlotte FC experience, and I haven't been to a game, but I've heard that experience is nothing like going to a Panthers game. It's complete polar opposites. So I wouldn't get too riled up and trying to compare the two because they're not the same. It's just different just because of the rules for each league.
Interesting. Well, yeah. I will get my chance this year. As a matter of fact, looking like Shad. Finally, I'll be making over for the Saints Panthers game this year. So we'll get the tailgate experience and then a game day experience. We had a texter on the text line ask the question: do you please mind asking Rashad if he thinks the Panthers will miss Stephon Gilmore this year, or was the price tag going to be too high to keep him?
I think we'll miss the leadership aspect, but I if there's one position on the field that I am feeling good about, it's the cornerback. I love the cornerbacks. I love the secondary. You've got J.C. Horn, who's going to come off the injury, playing well. You got C.J. Henderson. You've got Keith Taylor, a young Keith Taylor who's balling, learning, coming into year two. And Dante Jackson, of course. So I think we'll miss the leadership aspect. I don't necessarily think we'll miss his play per se. He is aging, but that leadership we are going to miss. But he was the price tag was going to be a bit high, and I think they want to shift that money to other positions. So I think I love Stephon. I think he's a great player, but I don't think we'll miss him too much.
The cornerback spot, which I actually agree with you about, I like it a lot. And one of the guys I remain high on, I hated the injury last year because I think the guy's got potential to be exceptionally good, is J.C. Horn. The knee busting up on him last year was a disappointment because guy looked like he was en route to a fantastic season. Obviously we're 5 days away from camp getting started for Carolina now. Full participant in camp, ? And how big of a role do you expect him to play on this defense this year?
No, I've got high expectations for JC, and I hope he meets them, because I think he's fully capable. If you ask the guys around the league, you look at some of what the teammates are saying, that he's happy to be back, and they're like, man, he's ready, he's back, he's got that different gear, that Mamba mentality, so to speak, that I don't think a lot of guys have, and I think he has that alpha. He thinks he knows he's the man, and he plays like he's the man. And good luck trying to go up against him. So I listen, I have, locked down cornerback expectations for him. I expect him to limit and eliminate whoever he is going against every week. Of course, he's going to get beat every now and then, but for the most part, he's going to win more than he loses. And I'm excited. I've got a bunch of JC Horn jerseys. Hopefully I can get him signed at training camp, but I'm ready. JC is going to be a problem. And it's just year 2. Just imagine when he's year 3, year 4. I think he's going to be awesome. He's going to be great.
Here's one for you. The new black jerseys, the all blacks, the black hat. That's a good look, dude, right? Like, that's a good look.
Oh, dude. So this is something that Panther Nation has been like pounding the table for years, right? We've always had the black on black jerseys, right? And the record in those is not too great. But I think there was something missing. Which is why we weren't winning that well. Winning that much, and that's the black helmet. We were missing the black helmet, and so now we have the black helmet, and oh man, it looks great. Man, when I saw it in the whole release with Brian Burns, man, I about shed a tear because we've been waiting for this for so long. We wanted the alternate helmet. We didn't know whether it was going to be the blue helmet or the black helmet. We've seen mock-ups of this helmet before. You can actually buy that helmet right now. It was out for a while. I mean, you could buy that black helmet for a long time, and it finally got released for them to play in. And I was a little perturbed when I saw the Falcons helmet, the red helmet that they put out, and then I think the Saints dropped the helmet, and I'm like, okay, this is getting weird here. And we finally dropped ours, and I'm happy we did. Obviously, we don't have a throwback helmet per se, but this is the alternate helmet that I love, and it's great. I love it, love it, love it, love it.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find that on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Hit the old bell to get notified when they drop new videos, which is frequently. All right, from something lighthearted to something not so lighthearted. We saw this weekend, or I guess earlier this week, that David Tepper's development company, has pulled out of another project in Charlotte. Now, this one is not Panther related, but there's a lot of folks in Charlotte, obviously, who are going, hey, man, look, it's comparable, and this guy doesn't understand how Charlotte works, and he thought he was going to walk in and just big rocks the entire city to get everything he wants, and he's basically nothing more than kind of a petty power player, right? A power player who thinks he's won but isn't in this city as of yet. All of that being said, I saw a lot of conversation on Panthers message boards that basically said, because Charlotte doesn't kowtow to David Tepper and give him everything he wants every time he wants it, they are growing increasingly afraid that when Tepper's time at BOA ends up, that it is more likely that he leaves Charlotte with the Panthers and Charlotte FC in tow than figure out a way to compromise and work with the city. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, so that's tough. It's a little concerning to see him, make these deals and they don't, and it happens, right? As a business person, things don't go right. But when you have several things, kind of compounding, you got the Rock Hill deal didn't go well. Now you got the Eastfield Mall situation that they backed out of, which was going to be the headquarters for Charlotte FC. That doesn't go well, and it's like, okay, what's going to go right here? I mean, we're doing good things. You gave us the midfield logo, you gave us the black helmet, and now when it comes to these major deals, right? You give us the minor deals, you knock those out the park, but these major deals that will kind of instill the Panthers in Carolina and Charlotte FC in Carolina, they don't go right. It's starting to get a little concerning, right? Because you talk about getting a new stadium. That hasn't nothing has come with that. I know they're talking about getting the Charlotte Pipe Foundry place right there next to the stadium right now. But I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I certainly hope he doesn't move the team. And when he came here, that was one of his things. He said, "I'm going to keep the team here. I'm not going to move. We're not going anywhere." But at the end of the day, a businessman is going to do what a businessman has to do. And we've seen teams move. We've seen, the St. Louis Rams move out to LA. We've seen this happen. And so in the back of my mind, I don't think he would move because it's such a great city. The two states, one team, such a great area for football, for professional football. I don't think it's wise for him to move it. But at the end of the day, the businessman got to do what he got to do. And if it makes sense for him, then, but I can't imagine the Panthers leaving the Carolinas. I can't even fathom that. I can't even think about that. This is my squad, man. Nobody wants that to happen.
Look, post Katrina, when the Saints had to go play a season away from New Orleans, and they did a couple of games in Baton Rouge and a couple of games in San Antonio, there was a lot of discussion about Tom Benson moving that team, and it was kind of in the same spot, right? Like the Saints are New Orleans, man. When you think New Orleans, you think Mardi Gras and the Saints, and that's really it. There's no way it's going to move. And really the only thing that led to the Saints saying was the city going to Benson and being like, look, dude, we need you here. We want you here. We're going to do what it takes to compromise on our end. Does Charlotte, the Saints have been there since the late 60s, so there was much more history between the club and the city than the Panthers and Charlotte, but the Panthers have been there for rapidly approaching 30 years. Does the city care enough to give David Tepper a little bit more to keep the Panthers? Or would they be like St. Louis was and go, you know what, we're really not worried. The city's going to live if your club's here or not. Will Charlotte give enough to keep him?
I think so. I think, this is posturing, right? This is all a part of business and getting business done. Everybody's got to put their flag in the sand, and negotiations have to happen from there. So of course, Tepper's going to say, hey, I've got pretty much all the cards. I've got the team. I can do whatever I want with the team. And obviously the city is going to have to work from a tax perspective. We've seen that already happen. I believe when they've got don't quote me on this, but when they got the renovations done for the stadium, I believe taxes increased for that. So I think they'll do what it takes to keep the Panthers. I think we're not like the Saints to New Orleans, but I think we're getting there. I think we've had enough success in this city to enjoy our Panthers, and we don't want them to go anywhere. I know we complain a lot just because we haven't won in recent history, but there's a lot of good history here from Cam Newton and Sam Mills, and there's just a lot of Steve Smith. There's a lot of good football here, and a lot to be proud of for the city. So at the end of the day, I think that the city and Tepper will do what they need to do to get it done. But there's so much going on in between that I don't really know all of what's happening from a negotiation standpoint.
Rashad Beard hosts a Panther Nation podcast. You can like and subscribe to that on YouTube. It is a phenomenal asset if you are a Panthers fan, keeping up with the team. Rashad, my man, I appreciate you being adaptable with us, man. We'll talk to you next week on the regular day, big fella.
Absolutely. Training camp, get excited, going out there to see it. Can't wait.
There you go. That's Rashad Beard. We'll have him back next week to do it all over again right here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Rashad was like, I'm out.
He threw up the peace sign first.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. I just saw it up there. That's how I know.
Phone call, be right back.
I can't believe he left off Kevin Green. Why am I getting bleed?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So the people from Alabama actually call them turlets? I'm just curious.
I've heard it pronounced turlet before.
I've heard it too, but I'd never figured out where that actually comes from. I think Archie Bunker called them turlets.
A cruel summer?
Since you've been gone away. See, that just makes me think of the original Karate Kid because that song was used in that during the arcade scene, if I recall, while he's trying to find what's her name? Allie.
Took when my drummer was in town last week, I took him to Pinky's Revenge, the arcade bar.
Yeah.
We got there at like 9 o'clock. They closed at 11. I was like, 2 hours. That's a lot of video games in 2 hours. It went by that fast.
If you're good at a game, it probably does go down. I mean, but if you,
quick.
oh man, I lost again.
Oh, I am a monster at Area 51.
Still haven't gotten to go yet. Maybe someday. Prisma in the first break.
Okay. Here we go. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Fan Upstate is on your radio. It is great to be with you guys. Thank you very much for joining us here on the show. Hope you are having an outstanding Friday so far today. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is directly across the metaphorical glass from us. Be a part of the show. The phone line's open for you at 844 fan phone 844-326-3663 844 FANFONE. You can also text the radio broadcast and do so at 71307 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, and we will get to those on the air. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, at 71307. We'll read them on the air. Real quick, completely aside personal question, but I'm starting to see the promos drop for House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel coming out on HBO. If any of you did what I did and genuinely loved Game of Thrones for like 5 seasons and then hated 6, 7, and 8 as I did, to the point that I will not rewatch the first 5 seasons, despite the fact that the first 5 seasons were potentially the best television show I've ever watched. I mean that sincerely. Game of Thrones for 5 seasons was the best television show I had ever watched in any capacity. And then it got so bad that now they are coming out with a completely separate prequel that leads up to House Targaryen, a completely different sequel that leads up to the events in Westeros that made up Game of Thrones. And I have like negative interest in watching it. It was so bad that I have no interest in going back and watching a prequel now, because all it's going to do is go, all of this is pointless, right? All of this ends with the way that season 6, 7, and 8 ended, to the point that it doesn't have a point anymore. Am I alone in that? Game of Thrones went from an inescapable part of pop culture. Even if you didn't watch Game of Thrones, GOT was everywhere for a number of years. Game of Thrones was everything. People were throwing Super Bowl-esque watch parties when individual episodes of Game of Thrones were dropping on HBO for like a handful of years. And then it ended so poorly that by and large, Game of Thrones is not even talked about anymore. When Game of Thrones was on, I watched college football marching bands playing music from like an entire halftime show dedicated to music from Game of Thrones. You would buy Game of Thrones merch everywhere. I bought a whiskey glass that says I drink and I know things because I wanted to drink Game of Thrones style. It was maybe the largest piece of American pop culture since Michael Jackson in his prime, and then it just stopped being that. In fact, I read the other day that there are still, to this day, warehouses full of Game of Thrones merchandise that was ordered, and then people stopped buying it. And now there's stockpiles of Game of Thrones merchandise because nobody bought it when for a while it was being sold in record numbers.
All right, this is a bunch of sour grapes. And as far as merch goes, when was the last episode? When did that air? Was that like 5 years ago or something like that? Yeah, things fade when there's nothing new about it. Now,
yeah, which is definitely why I went to Target yesterday and there was one Star Wars shirt left.
All right, so here's your problem. You're trying to compare Game of Thrones to Star Wars, and you can't do that. You can't, because Game of Thrones was for a select audience. Star Wars is for everybody. So there's a demographic that watched Game of Thrones, and it left out another one that could not. The children couldn't watch it. Certain people who don't like incest and, kids getting thrown out of the window when they witness said incest and decided, you know what, this ain't the show for me. People like that are like, yeah, whatever. This is kind of a niche fad thing, whereas Star Wars is forever. So you can't, and again, demographically, Game of Thrones only reached a certain 20 to 30 something demographic, whereas Star Wars is for everybody. So you're trying to, it's not an apples to oranges comparison because they're both pop culture phenomenon to a certain degree, but Game of Thrones was never and never will be, even if the last episode was as good as you wish it would be, on the same level as Star Wars.
If I wish the last 3 seasons were as good as they could have been. Now, I get the whole thing. Don't come at me with George R.R. Martin.
That's a good question, Keegan. But the thing is, Keegan says people who don't like incest. May I ask who does like incest? People who watch Game of Thrones, I guess, because they made it a popular show. I mean, that was part of the plot line in the first.
You enjoyed Star Wars, right? You enjoyed Star Wars. That's a yes or no question, not a trap. You enjoyed Star Wars, right?
A kiss when you don't know who someone is not incest.
That's not even.
And this is not.
No, wait.
This is not.
Don't you steer out of my skid.
But we really shouldn't go this way.
Do you like Star Wars? So you're pro-child murder. I'm sorry, can we not just pick one element of a story and then make that the whole thing? Because I thought that's what we were doing here, Lonzo.
See, after me taking his side with the ACC thing, now he's coming at me because I went after something that he really enjoyed, and he's upset that it ended poorly. And I can't help you. Maybe there's a fan film out there like there usually is. This is how Game of Thrones should have ended, and you can watch that and you'd be happy and go, see, JRR, whatever you are. If he's a fat dude, I forget his name.
By God, it's House Baratheon.
You know what? You know what you're making me do? To spite you, I almost want to watch the prequel, just because you don't want to. Now, I kind of want to watch it, but if it goes along the same kind of writing style as the other one,
and House Targaryen was 100% only existence because of incest. They kept the bloodline
pure blood. I get it, but I just it doesn't interest me. So, but it interests other people, and that's fine if that's what you're
Nobody
into.
Is interested in that. It's a story that has that in it.
You've never watched something and went, oh, you know what?
Yeah,
and then didn't watch anymore because of it. You've never done that.
I mean, I stopped watching shows if the show's bad.
Okay, yeah, that's what I did. The show was bad. It was not good. I mean, if you can't get me with the first couple episodes, and yes, I even watched past that episode because
that was episode 1.
You got to watch this. Well, this was during my time trying to befriend a host that I was working with. And by trying to do things that he liked so we could find some common ground. And it just didn't work because I didn't like the show.
Rob just got hit with the Get Off My Lawn Star Wars edition by Lonzo. Hashtag cancel Lonzo.
If that were possible, go ahead. I mean, what's that going to mean to me? Ooh, I can't leave my house. Okay. All right.
More time to watch Game of Thrones. Can you compare Game of Thrones to something like Breaking Bad? I'll be real with you. And I'm going to tank some of you that were in my corner. Breaking Bad did nothing for me. I watched season 1, and it never got to the point where I'm like, I have to finish the show, despite some of y'all telling me it was the greatest cable TV show of all time.
Wow. Hey, the teacher makes drugs. Why do I want to watch that for?
No, okay.
You didn't grow up in the neighborhood I did with a drug dealer across the street. You didn't deal with all that stuff.
Right,
why do I want to watch things that remind me of that place?
It's not just guy makes drugs because drugs are fun and I make money. There's an actual tragic backstory reason for why he does it.
For him breaking the law and selling drugs to kids.
Don't make me defend Breaking Bad.
It looks like that's what you're getting ready to do.
Because you haven't watched it.
Because I don't need to. because I want to watch a show about drug dealers.
Anyway, the point of all of this is, are any of you that liked Game of Thrones and then jumped off watching House of Dragons, do you have any hope? All right, that's enough nerd stuff.
Hey, Matt Smith's in House of Dragons. And if you are a real nerd, you know who that is, and that will make you want to watch it. And he has to look it up.
Matt Smith. He's a Doctor Who. Never watched Doctor Who.
Oh, he's one of those.
He's a Doctor Who.
At least he didn't say little when he said Doctor
Why
Who.
would I want to watch a show about a guy in a phone booth?
It's not really a phone booth.
It's phone booth.
It's not a
I've
phone
seen
booth.
it. It's phone booth.
By the way, if you want to be accurate, it's a police box. And police boxes are not phone booths. So there, Rob.
Anyway, let's get to some other stuff on the show today. Kyler Murray just got handed a ridiculous contract by the Arizona Cardinals. Alonzo was very happy for him. Kyler Murray, 5-year extension worth $230.5 million, $160 million of it guaranteed. He is now the Cardinals quarterback under contract through 2028. If he plays the length of the deal, he will become the second longest tenured quarterback in franchise history, behind only Jim Hart, who played from 66 to 83. Look,
upon hearing the news, he put his lip back. That was sticking out. He put it back. I don't know what that's called other than putting your lip back. That's what he did. And he grinned and said, "Thank you."
So Kyler had been wanting an extension. His agent, Scott Boras, who is just if you're a player, a masterful agent. If you're a franchise, you hate the guy. Finally got him that extension. Here's the thought that I have, which, by the way, Kyler Murray is now the second highest paid per average player in the National Football League, behind only Aaron Rodgers. He has the second most guaranteed money in the NFL, behind only Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. And while the majority of the money isn't guaranteed, while not all the money is guaranteed, a majority of it is. Here's the thing. If we go NFL QB power rankings, right? If we go NFL quarterback power rankings, and we can look at last year's season, where does Kyler Murray fit in? I would say that 1, 2, flip them as you want, are Brady and Rodgers, right? Just from last year, Brady and Rodgers were 1 and 2. I would say that Josh Allen's in that conversation. And then after this, let's talk about where we put Kyler Murray. Do you pick? Yeah, I'm here for it.
All right. This affects me and you and our people. WWE has announced that effective immediately, Paul Triple H Levesque will resume his executive position as EVP of Talent Relations.
Oh, okay. Don't hate that. They're still upset.
It's still breaking sports news.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah,
hang that on the back banner.
No way Kyler Murray is in the top 15.
Okay, let's go through them. These are NFL.com's 2021 rankings. All right, let's see if we like where they have the guy. Number 1, Tom Brady. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. Number 3, Josh Allen. I got no issue with the top 3. Number 4, Justin Herbert. I would put him behind Matt Stafford, who they have at number 5. At number 6, they got Joey B, Joey Ice, Joe B, Joe Burrow. They got Patrick Mahomes at number 7 behind Joey B.
Of course, I have a lot of problems with that. I think Patrick Mahomes should be higher, but okay.
Well, I'm going only 21 season, and I don't think it would be wrong to say, remember, halfway through the 21 season,
you're right.
There were a lot of people saying, what happened to Patrick Mahomes?
He had a rough time, but it wasn't his fault. It was receivers dropping the ball.
We can go with that. But
stats don't. I get it. Okay, all right.
They have got Kyler Murray ranked number 8. They've got him ranked ahead of Dak at 9.
How many games did he play? Did he play the entire season?
Who, Kyler?
Yeah,
15. Missed 2.
Okay,
15 games. They got him behind Dak, who played all 17. Ahead of Dak, ahead of Derek Carr, ahead of Russ Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins 13, Lamar 14, Matt Ryan 15, Mac Jones 16, Jalen 17, Teddy BH 18, Carson Wentz 19, Jimmy G 20. All right, so there's your top 20. Jameis 21. So Kyler Murray, NFL.com ranked as coming off of the 8th best season in the National Football League. He said, quote, or NFL.com says, quote, Kyler would have fallen in the rankings more for his playoff performance, but there weren't logical candidates to jump him. Still, there is a big drop-off from the top 7 at the position this year. Murray was as good as any quarterback through 7 weeks, but his play was sporadic after he missed 3 games with an ankle injury. It often felt as if the Cardinals relied on Murray to create incandescent plays on his own. Otherwise, the offense got stuck in quicksand. It's clear this team is not thrilled with Murray's maturity, and the feeling is probably mutual. So that's the Kyler Murray write-up from NFL.com. So why did Kyler Murray then become the second highest paid quarterback in the National Football League? Lonzo just visibly shook his head and said,
Well, the market dictates. That's fine. I mean, good for him for getting his money. I don't think he should be the number 2 pay. And you would say it's next man up, but was he next man up? He kind of forced their hand with all this, and it worked. It worked for them.
It did.
It worked for him, rather. We'll see if he works for them. And see, when you look at him, do you think they're going to win the West?
No, I don't.
I mean, will they make the playoffs again? Possibly, but are they going to win are they actually going to compete for the division? It's tough teams there.
The NFC West, as it stands, belongs to the LA Rams. And it will belong to the LA
defending
Rams
Super
again
Bowl
this year.
champions.
Correct.
Yes.
And it will belong to them again. But in the regular season last year, Lonzo, the Rams were 12-5. The Cardinals were 11-6. They pick up 1 divisional win, and the Cardinals go to the playoffs with as NFC West champions last year. All right, and which means the Rams, who by the way did have to go to Tampa to play the Bucs, right? The Rams aren't playing the NFC Championship game at home. They're not playing at SoFi in the Super Bowl. Or I mean, if they'd have won, but it'd have been a tougher road. But the reason Kyler Murray, ranked by NFL.com as the 8th best quarterback, and had to be written into the paragraph about it that there was a noticeable drop-off from number 7 to number 8, right? They're basically saying we wanted to put Kyler Murray lower, but there was nobody else to move ahead of him. So why do the Cardinals go? Here's why. Go back and look at the rest of those players. Brady's under contract for a while or retiring. Rodgers just signed his extension. Josh Allen's under contract for a while. Justin Herbert's under contract for a while. He's only in year 2. Matt Stafford clearly wants to be in LA. He's not going anywhere. Joey B's under contract for a while as a rook. Patty Mahomes ain't leaving Kansas City. Here's the situation you're in. Kyler Murray is the best available quarterback. Not a great quarterback, but the best available quarterback. And in the NFL, if you want a sniff of success, you have to have the best quarterback available playing. Who else do you get, right? There's talk that down the road, Dak could lead Dallas. You want Dak Prescott over Kyler Murray? Dak just had his first season where he finished the entire season in a long time. You want Derek Carr coming off another year with the Raiders? He was sluggish this year. At the end of the year and into the playoffs, he was. Some of y'all might argue, I'm assuming Lonzo's in this group, that would you have wanted Russell Wilson instead of Kyler Murray? Keep in mind, Russ is on way the wrong side of 30 now and plays a game that typically does not allow quarterback to get to 30, which means he is on the razor's edge of being done. Do you want Russ? Ryan Tannehill, is that your guy? Kirk Cousins? Like, the only quarterback left in the game right now that I would have said of the quarterbacks available is a guy I'm making a play for is Lamar Jackson out of Baltimore, who's a taller, better Kyler Murray, in my opinion. But NFL.com has him ranked at number 14. A good chunk of the reason why is because of the 4 missed games last year and the injury that he had, right? Now, I think he'll be back and he'll be fine. Remember, through 5 or 6 weeks last year, Lamar Jackson was not just an MVP candidate, he was the front runner for the MVP for a minute. He's better than Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but he had to. He did something that I don't think Kyler Murray could do. When all those injuries happened, Lamar Jackson was able to put that team on his back, literally, and carry it towards victories. I don't think Kyler Murray can do that. If Kyler Murray's weapons go down, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Lamar, I think, proved that he can do something with nothing.
I agree.
I still don't think Lamar is one of the top tier quarterbacks, but I think he's better than Kyle Murray.
I think Lamar is in that B+ range, right? Brady Rodgers are your A+ quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford, Joey B are your A minus, and Patrick Mahomes are your A minus quarterbacks. Mahomes can jump back into A+.
I was going to say, he's always been like 1 or 2 until last year when he had a little bit of struggles, and then suddenly, man, he's dropped in a lot of.
Well, I don't think it's unfair to have him at number 7, just based off of 2021, and I don't think it's unfair to call him an A minus quarterback after 2021. Right, but I'm not going to say he's an A+ QB. He's not in that top echelon right this second.
That's my quarterback. You put some respect on his name.
That's my quarterback, man. Kyler Murray is a B- quarterback. So why did he get A+ money? Simple, because it's the only option. It's the best and only option they had. I heard. I'm flipping channels yesterday, driving back from Charlotte. I'm scanning the Odyssey app, listening to sports stations from around the country. After Kyler got his contract, and that was cool. Why would they pay him that much? They're paying him too much. Why would they pay him too much? The answer is because that's the only option. And remember, as I told you a minute ago, the Cardinals were 1 game away from winning the division last year. So Lonzo asked me, can they win the West? Well, yes. Yes, they can. Go back to last year. Go back and look through their season. They beat Lonzo, October 3rd, 2021. Cardinals 37, Rams 20. That's the Super Bowl champs. Now, the Rams got it back in the wild card round. They beat them 34-11. They had a closer game December 13th. Rams 30, Cardinals 23, a 1-touchdown game. But based on those scores, with the exception of the playoff when the Rams found another gear, can the Cardinals win that division? They were a game out of it last year. And if they would have gotten the TD victory over the Rams on December 13th, where they lost 20-23, if they win 30-23, the Rams have to come to Arizona to play that wild card game, right? You flip the script, it's St. Louis. It's LA at Arizona at that point. You're telling me Arizona couldn't have won at home? Of course they could have. They did. They did a lot, right? The Cardinals are not remarkably far removed from being a playoff team. 1 game last year in that division. In the division with the Super Bowl champs. 1 game. They had to pay Kyler Murray that because that's what you have to pay quarterbacks now. And while he's not in that A+ echelon, if they don't give him the extension and he decides to blow it up, he's going to go somewhere else. And it's not so much that Kyler Murray would not be your quarterback anymore, as it is somebody else would, right? Somebody else would. And you would end up with what's going on in Atlanta right now, right? Matt Ryan decided that he didn't like what the Falcons did, so he asked out. He got out. He's in Indy. Who's the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons this year? Marcus Mariota. Now, if you listen and pay attention to the Falcons, DA pointed it out this morning on the DA show, 6 to 9, right here on the Fan Upstate. DA's guys pointed out this morning that if you follow the Falcons' social media, they'll have you convinced that Marcus Mariota is the second coming. That Marcus Mariota is just a football god. They're hyping this dude like he is the guy. He's not the guy. If he was, he'd be starting in the NFL. If the Cardinals let Kyler Murray walk because he's got low maturity, and I don't know if that's true or not, But if they let him walk because he's got a low maturity level and they're not willing to pay him $160 guaranteed, $250 overall over 5 years, and he walks, it's not that Kyler won't be your guy. It's that somebody else will. And you'll be stuck where the Falcons are with Marcus Mariota as your starter. Is that how you want it to turn out? No, not when you were a game away from taking the division away from the Super Bowl champs last year. Arizona believes they are close to being good. They are not going to turn away Kyler Murray and then get stuck with Josh Rosen, who, by the way, is working out for the Browns right now.
Got signed by the Browns.
Got signed by the Browns. Yes. If Kyler Murray's not a Cardinal, if he decides he's going to sit it out next year over a contract dispute, Josh Rosen starts for the Cardinals. If Josh Rosen starts for the Cardinals, Lonzo, do you want to take a bet with me that the Cardinals are within one game of the Rams? No, you don't. I'll answer that one for you. No, you don't. Josh Rosen comes back to the Cardinals. They are a 6-win football team, maybe. 5-win football team, realistically. So what's better? 12 wins and a game away from taking the division away from the Rams with Kyler as a quarterback, or going, yeah, you're too immature to hand 250 to 160 guarantee. We're going to let you walk, and then having Josh Rosen bring you to a 5-12 season. Which one of those is more valuable to you? It's an obvious answer. Quick break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Prisma.
Be right back. Stream, don't go anywhere.
if I can hear it through you and my headphones on, that's a concern.
But Brandon, is Marcus Mariota good enough to get you there, my guy? You guys have got the talent to be a playoff team, but do you have the quarterback to be a playoff team? By the way, picked up this Charlotte FC hat when I was at the match. That's a good logo.
That's a good logo.
That's a good logo.
Hey, did you see what I sent you on Twitter?
Yes. That's insanity. That's insanity.
I want that.
That's insanity.
You think that would be more powerful than the one that I didn't shoot anybody with? Still missing that bullet. I gotta find that. Gel. Oh, what was that? That would hurt.
It would have to, right? Question is, do you pick those up and reload them? Or is it like you have to buy reloads like a paintball gun? I don't know. They wouldn't explode, right?
Are they? I don't know.
10 per second. That's going to be a long 30 seconds on the wall, dude.
To me, it's like it's loaded with a bunch of vitamin E. Those little gel, the gel.
You would take,
supplements.
if you had a big enough tank, you would be hitting somebody on the Nerf wall with 300 gel pellets. 300. That'd be a pain in the butt to clean up after.
I have to see one in a store somewhere. Not that you could pick the pellets up, but I think you could get an idea of the consistency just by looking at them. Yeah, I would never shoot if they explode. First of all, I wouldn't shoot any of our guys with it unless they wanted me to. But I definitely wouldn't do it in studio because that could get you in trouble. Unless you're down the hall, you can get away with that.
Yep.
Stuff down there.
Welcome to the new age of the NFL, man. I told you guys, we talked about this over the weekend, right? We got into expansion talk at the ACC Media Days because that's the talk. That's it. That's all that matters. Literally, the existence of the Atlantic Coast Conference resides in whether or not they can talk Notre Dame to join up 100%, and if the ACC can talk whatever power players are left, of which there's not many, into jumping into the conference as well. It was reported yesterday, though I have not seen anything following that up yet, but it was reported yesterday that a number 4 more Pac-12 schools were going to be applying for entry to the Big 12. Now, I will say that does threaten the ACC a little bit, right? Spent the last 2 days talking to you guys about, I think the ACC is the most stable conference, but that will be threatened if, while the ACC, I said they needed to be proactive, because if the ACC just sits tight, happy with their current situation because of the grant of rights contract that runs through the mid-2030s, then the Big 12 has the opportunity to snag up the other powerhouses around the conferences that are remaining, Washington, Oregon, etc., and add them to the Big 12, so that when the GOR of the ACC runs out in 14 years, they'll still just be what they are today, and that's probably not good enough. Now, we had a conversation yesterday, and I didn't get to finish it with Owen because he had to bail out for a family emergency. But the night before at the Charlotte FC Chelsea match, we were standing in the middle of the road waiting a lightning delay out. And Owen said, you know, Rob, I'm a traditionalist of college football, and I don't want the tradition to go away. And then I upset Owen a little bit because I said, if you think that matters, you're naive and adorable, as respectfully as I can put it. Because college football is now a money-driven industry. Everything at every level, from the players to the commissions, are money-driven. They're all in it for cash. Just like pretty much everything else. They're all in it for cash. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL is that way. And if you want it to change, there is only one thing you can do. And don't worry, it's bad for me too, career-wise and personally. But if you have a problem with the way that a business operates, the National Football League is a business. If you have a problem with quarterbacks being handed $260 million contracts, some of them entirely guaranteed, like Deshaun's, while ticket prices go up and concession prices go up and parking prices go up, if you have a problem with that, it is not enough that you don't participate, right? You will have to actively go out and convince other people not to participate, right? Because if I don't know, 1 million fans around the country say, you know what? It is ridiculous that Kyler Murray is getting $250 with $160 guaranteed, while I have to pay $90 a ticket for a mid-tier seat to watch my team play. And 1 million people around the country stop doing that. Will the NFL lose some money? Sure. Will they lose enough money to stop doing that? No, because at the end of the day, all they got to do is wait you out, right? They just got to wait you out. You'll come back. If you want it to change, then you've got to stop spending money. It's the same in college ball as it is the NFL. If you are upset about the direction of college football, if you are Mark Ryan, and you are so upset about the direction of college football becoming more and more corporate, more and more business, more and more NFL, it is not enough for you to not watch games anymore. That didn't do it. You need to convince millions of other people to do the same. Because as long as viewership keeps going up for college football games, right? And at the end of the day, that's all that matters here. Everything in college football expansion is being predicated on television viewership, right? Why is the ACC relatively stable right now? Because they've got a fat TV contract through 2036. Why is the Big 12 looking at adding more teams like Colorado, like Oregon, to add to their TV watchability? Because the more eyes are on the product, the more money you get for the product. The more eyes that are on that product, the more the television companies get paid by sponsors to put their goods and services on that product and associate it with that product. It's very simple to boil down. If you don't like that Kyler Murray is getting $260 million with $150 guaranteed, or $250 with $160 guaranteed. If you don't like that Deshaun got $260 fully guaranteed. If you don't like that the conferences aren't geographically relevant anymore. If you don't like that there will be 2 mega conferences and the everybody else conference, and a very small limited number of teams will ever have the financial resources to actually be competitive for a natty, it is not enough to go, well, I just don't watch. I'm out. I'm not watching. You will have to convince a large percentage of the rest of the country to do the same. And I can tell you right now, every person I've had this conversation with, I'm a traditionalist in college football. I hate college football. I hate that it's not geographically relevant anymore. I hate that rivalries are going away. I hate that the conferences are expanded. And I've gone, great. Are you willing to not watch football anymore? Very, very few have said yes, if any, honestly, have said yes, right? Because as Owen pointed out, on Saturdays, Clemson fans are going to watch their team run down that hill, whether they're running towards Wake Forest or FSU or Oregon State. On Saturdays at Willie B, Gamecocks fans are going to bounce to Sandstorm, whether it's Arkansas or LSU or Colorado that's across the field from them, right? And as long as you are watching your team play, buying pay-per-view to watch your team play, going out to the bar to watch your team play, as long as you are spending your money to watch your team play, then that's the only thing that matters. It's not enough to just not watch your team. You have to not watch your team, and you have to become, I hate to say it, anti-college football. You have to actively convince other people, hey, I don't watch college football anymore because it is bad and not good, because they are ruining the old school feel of the game, the pageantry, the tradition, the rivalries. They're ruining all of that for money. And so I am not going to give it to them. And oh, by the way, diehard Tiger fan, diehard Gamecock fan, diehard Chanticleer fan, I need you to not watch your team too. I need you to not buy gear. I need you to not buy tickets. I need you to not go to the campus. And when they're on TV, I need you to keep your TV turned off. Are you in? Lonzo, what percentage of college football fans do you think am I going to talk into not watching college football so that TV ratings go down, so these contracts stop getting bloated, so that college football stops changing? You think I'm getting anybody on board with that argument?
All right, I've been trying to calculate in my mind the entire time you've been talking about the exact amount of people that you would be able to convince, and I've come to a ballpark figure of 0.
I'd guesstimate you're in the game. I guesstimate you're a game. Do you think I'm convincing non-radio guy Mark Ryan, right? Not the one that hosts the show, but Mark Ryan, the Florida Gator fan. You think I'm convincing Mark Ryan not to watch Florida LSU so that the SEC TV contract loses value?
No, because he spent almost a decade at that school, and of course he's going to love that school.
Right. Right. Do you think I am calling my uncle a diehard LSU fan and going, hey, Unc, college football's changing. None of us like the way it's changing, so I need you to do me a favor. When LSU plays Ole Miss in one of the oldest rivalries in the South this weekend, I need you to watch anything else. My Unc is going to hang up on me for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to tell you that one of my favorite words to use is in play. It is inevitable. Because there are too many people in positions of power who have 8-figure paychecks in play here. There are too many people in positions of power that have fat stacks that ride on what is happening to college football right now. And you are irrelevant to them unless you, as the people, can talk 30, 40, 50% of the people from stopping watching their college football. The destination is inevitable at this point. We're too far gone. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you. This is the Fan Upstate. Sex Panther, the movie. Yes, Keegan. Lonzo and I watched the D&D movie trailer before the show today, and I'm relatively excited, to be honest with you.
Stop it, Keegan.
Don't scratch it off. I'll talk about this on air too. This is the exclusive content from coming to the stream. You can get 35 seconds of it on Twitter Trending Topics, but if you come to the stream, you can ask more. and I am having to, like, I realize that it's a different conversation with people who don't play and/or watch D&D, right? Because a lot of the references, like a lot of the things in that trailer are D&D. Owlbear is a D&D monster. The Mimic, which is the treasure chest that turned into a big sharp teeth eaty thingy, that is D&D related. And if you've played through games and you've encountered these things, to then see them in real life on the big screen is a moment, right? Like, it's a moment. It's the D&D equivalent of the first time that we saw, I don't know, the reveal of Chris Evans in his full Captain America suit, right? Like, as a comic book fan, you're like, oh my God, I've seen this on paper only, and now the real thing's in front of me. So seeing an owlbear, seeing a mimic, I think it's going to be super interesting. That first dragon that flew by, which if you play D&D, as Lonzo, Chris Evans, Captain America down the hall, and I all did, we all immediately recognized it as a black dragon. See, in D&D, there's different color dragons, and they don't all breathe fire. Some of them breathe poison, some of them breathe acid. That was a black dragon that breathes acid, which is why he didn't throw fire. If you don't play D&D, when you think dragon, you think fire. But this D&D shoots acid, right? And so when he throws the acid on the field, I'm like, oh, it's a black dragon. Here's what I'll think. I think some fantasy movies with the the development of CGI technology, they go so far in creating these surreal landscapes that move and shift and change that it detracts, right? You're like, that's too fantastic even for a fantasy adventure. This one looked like it was like right down the alley, right? Like, it wasn't so unfathomable that it became surreal. Like, you can see this being a place with magic involved. I think it's great. I thought I think Chris Pine playing the Bard for like 30 seconds of that trailer, Lonzo, I thought Chris Pine was going to be the Paladin or the Rogue, and it turns out he's the Bard.
See, I would have went with Rogue for sure.
I like Chris Pine because the Rogue and the Paladin are the cool class, right? Like, they're the jocks of the game. The Rogue and the Paladin are the cool kid class, whereas the Wizards and the Sorcerers and the Warlocks are the nerds, and the Bard's the funny guy. It's always the funny guy. So to put Chris Pine, who, by the way, has some good comedy chops, right? Like, we saw some good comedy moments from some of his movies. To make him the silly, goofy, lute-playing Bard is the opposite of archetyping him. Or what is it? Typecasting him. It's the opposite of that. I thought he was going to be the cool bard or the knight, the fighter, the paladin, whatever. And they made him the bard who gets made fun of. I thought that was a great plan. I loved it. I thought it was good. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Lonzo, you be a part of the show. 844-FAN phone. 844-326-3663. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. Text said, Rob, you're going to enrage the crowd that wants their favorite college team to play for free. Yeah, look, it's a business guy, all right? We went to ACC Media Day. It takes place at one of the nicer hotels in Charlotte. When I got there, they give you gifts. They feed you 3 times throughout the day with a fully and really tasty cater buffet. Yesterday's buffet, Lonzo, was fresh caught salmon fillets with hollandaise sauce, grilled chicken breast with a southern light gravy on top of it, collard greens, one of the best potato salads I've ever had in my life.
I'm trying to get past the southern light gravy.
Oh, it was fantastic.
What the heck is light gravy?
It wasn't like a white sausage gravy. It was almost like a, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a.
So it was probably good, but it's fake gravy.
It was like a glaze more than a gravy.
Okay, because gravy's got to be thick.
Yeah, it was more of a glaze than a gravy. But they gave us all of that, right? Every morning it was huge mounds of scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, grits, hash browns, the classics. The classics. Guys, that all has to get paid for by the conference, right? You had, 200, 300 media members there, and you got to feed all of them 3 times for 2 days, provide them. I'm not saying they have to do this, but, the ACC needs coverage because here's the thing. Why would you give that to the nerdy media members? Because we tell you guys what's happening in the conference, right? It's exposure for them. It's exposure for them. It's them getting their name out. It's a day in the sports media where the conversation's about the Atlantic Coast Conference in places that it mattered. But they got to pay for all that to get their exposure back. How do they pay for that? Those grant of rights contracts, those TV contracts. And yes, you buying tickets and you buying gear and you buying this and you buying that. And that's all well and good. But all of that gets paid for by the TV contracts through the TV networks. Why do the TV networks give the ACC so much money? Because people like you watch it. People like I watch it. Like me watch it. We watch it. And as long as we're watching and our TV sends the little signal or whatever to the TV overlords in their high towers lording over us, and they go, okay, this game had 5.9 million people watching. Hey, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, if you'd like to advertise your new truck in front of those 5.9 million people for this game, we're going to need $2 million. And they pay it, right? It's not even about don't buy gear, don't go to games. It's about don't watch the team at all. And there's a few of y'all that are going to be good with that. Texas says, what do you consider the biggest problem with college football right now? If you had a magic wand, how would you fix it? I don't have a huge problem, right? NIL fixed what I considered a problem to some degree. I mean, the biggest problem in college football, if you are a college football traditionalist, is you're losing geographic relevancy. Words are hard. Why am I struggling today?
I was going to help.
Relevancy. You're losing geographic relevancy, and you're losing the old school feel of college football. That's not the end of the world to me.
My biggest problem is the playoffs need to be expanded. That's my only problem.
I got good news for you. Expansion means more viewership. More viewership means more money. More money means what? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's no question we're expanding the playoffs to me anymore. It's an inevitability. It's just a matter of when. But like I said, if you don't like it and you want it to stop changing, your only option is not don't watch. It is don't watch and convince millions of other people also not to watch. Y'all, last year, South Carolina was a very average football team. I went and watched them Phil Willie B to play Florida, who was not good last year. Last year, in the midst of the most disappointing season in 7 years, I went to Clemson to watch them fill that stadium against FSU, another not good team. You think you're going to convince those people when the team's out of town not to watch it on TV? Good freaking luck. 1 hour left. We hit it hard when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Oh, down.
It probably was milk, Keegan. Food there is really good, though. Which it was a couple years ago. I doubt it's went downhill. Could you tell, was it catered or was it actually the food from the hotel? Because I think it was the food from the
It
hotel
was
when I
food
was
from
there.
the hotel,
Yeah.
but I mean, you still got to pay for it.
You didn't. You meant in general.
The ACC had to pay for it.
I was making sure you didn't have to pay for it because that's probably pretty expensive.
All right, do I want to be a barbarian or a necromancer for my next start? I'm going to be a barbarian to start.
So it depends on what you're in the mood for. You want to raise the dead or you just want to bash some heads?
ACC Karen. Hey, man.
I agree, Keegan. That would be a good metal band.
Bum, 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 bum. Greenville House tribute to the Ages Rock Series title sponsorship in the next break. Standing.
Okay. All right. I check your Twitter.
Okay.
The Bengals new helmets. Dude.
Good look.
Dude. Wow. I shouldn't like that as much as I do.
Very frequently, I ask you guys to kind of step in and play the role of assistant to the assistant programming director, right? I very frequently ask you guys to step in and tell us what you want to hear about, right? Especially for me. I'm not a hot take artist, right? I heard yesterday after Kirby Smart got his new contract, a lot of hot takes about it. I heard after and during ACC Media Days, as a matter of fact.
Wait a minute. He just won the national championship, right?
Hey, look up on TV. No joke. Oh, I was just right over that guy's shoulder. I was just on ESPN. They just had me on Media Day coverage. No joke.
Were they talking about loud people?
No, they had a guy doing a recorded live shot from a couple of days ago, and I was literally right over the dude's shoulder in my Fan Upstate hat.
I'm so glad the glass isn't up right now.
I know, I'd have just shattered.
Yeah,
half
you
the
would
room.
have. I got to admit, I haven't seen you move that fast in a while.
I looked up and I'm like, oh, that guy's at ACC Media. Oh my God, that's me. Look at that. I'm on TV again. Ladies and gentlemen, the third and final, the best, the mighty hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. It's the Fan Upstate.
Feel good. Feel really good. Yeah.
So I very frequently ask you guys to step in.
Would you have done that if you hadn't just seen yourself on TV?
Yeah, so here's what happened. Yeah, like the last 2 days, I had to cool it on the third hour intro, right? Last 2 days, I had to cool it on the third hour intro, and I guess there was just a little leftover part of that where I'm like, all right, don't hammer the start to the third hour. And then when we got going, I started talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't intro the third hour. You're home. You can do that now. Anyway, I very frequently ask you guys to play the role of assistant to the assistant programming director. I ask you guys to tell me thoughts on what we should be talking about, right? Guys, I'm still going to do what I want to do, but I ask you guys to tell me kind of what direction do you want to go in. Are you getting over expansion talk, right? Are you at the point now where expansion talk is detracting from everything else? Because again, I will talk baseball with you. I have a nationally syndicated baseball show that airs every Saturday from 1 to 5 on the BetQL network and fine Odyssey stations around the country. I will talk baseball with you. I will talk soccer with you. I will talk Olympic sports with you. Whatever you want. I'll talk local sports with you. You want to talk Triumph? You want to talk Drive? You want to talk Swamp Rabbits? I'm here for you, right? I will never run out of active conversations to get to, right? Like I was sitting there yesterday listening to, as I'm packing up my gear, listening to lunchtime shows from other parts of the ACC territories. And now the last 2 days were obviously a little bit different in that we were at a college football event, so college football was the name of the game. But I'm listening to people, and I got to the point that I recognized that a lot of folks, it's just all they do, right? And that's fine. There's a niche for that. There is an audience of people who only care about college football. That's all. They don't care about the NFL, NBA, college basketball, MLB, soccer. They don't care about any of it. They live, breathe, eat, sleep, and die college football. And so you put out a 3-hour podcast that only does college football, and those people are going to consume it. I got no issue with it. It's not my game. It's not my style. I want to get a little bit of anything and everything in here. We're going to get some basketball. We're going to get some baseball, some soccer, some hockey. We're getting it all. But I still want to do a show that you guys want to listen to. Maybe not every single segment of it, although I hope you do. What do you guys want to talk about? And the question I'm driving at here is, do you care about expansion anymore, right? And I asked that because as I was leaving the West in Charlotte Wednesday, day one, Clemson had their media breakouts in the afternoon on Wednesday. Dabo gave his State of the Tigers address around 3:15. About 3:45, they did breakout interviews. And then about 4:30 or so, they were done. And they were taken off to wherever. As I leave the Westin, the ACC Media Days takes place on the second floor. It's 3 ballrooms. There's like an open floor ballroom where Radio Row is. There's a secondary, massive closed-in ballroom. That's where the coaches do their State of the Union speeches. And then there's a third, much smaller ballroom where the breakout interviews go. So, the 3 players each team brought, plus the head coach, they all have a table in the corner of this other room, and they go up and they meet. You can go up and ask individual questions to individual players. It's all on the second floor. So I pack up the gear Wednesday. Mark's doing his show. And I leave. And I leave through the front of the hotel. I parked in the parking lot, like right across the street from the hotel. So I leave and I walk and I go down the escalator down to the lobby. And waiting in the lobby is a not insignificant number of fans. There's some Clemson fans. There's some FSU fans, some Louisville fans. And I'm assuming most of these are like people who live in Charlotte. Though I'm sure there are some Clemson folks that travel up there because, hey, Dabo's going to be there, right? Good chance for a pick and an autograph. So I'm leaving, and I am just kind of like walking through the fans down there and taking it in because there's a bunch of like ACC displays down there. They got a little mock football field on the ground, and then they have a mannequin from every ACC team, full football uniform, right? So you can take your picture with like a mannequin in a full Clemson uni and et cetera, et cetera.
Was Clemson in the middle? Was it raised on a dais somewhere?
Yeah, everybody else, all the other mannequins were on the floor bowing to it, yeah. So I'm walking through, and there's fans, they're taking pictures with the different football jerseys and whatnot. They are the ACC Network HQ, where the personalities were hanging out between shots, is downstairs. So there were guys hanging outside of the office waiting for, whoever was the next show to come out, Mark Richter, whoever. And there was one guy who said, I was 10, 12 feet from him. One guy who said something to the tune of, I wish we could just talk football. And I'm like, my guy, like that's all we're doing here. But I realized after I left and I was walking down whatever street it is to the parking garage, I realized what he meant, Lonzo. What he meant was, can we talk on the field football? Because all the conversation is college football expansion right now. So this guy said, I wish we could stop talking about expansion and just talk about on the field football this year.
See, I don't get that, because you can talk about what you want to talk about unless you're working in a place where they dictate, hey, here's what you're talking about today. I've never been in a place like that. Of course, I've been here for 22 years, but I've never been in a place where they said, here are your topics for today. Here's what you need to talk about. Pretty much here and across the entire building, it's you're the host, find your topics.
Yep.
So unless this person is in a place where he's being told what to talk about what you want.
Right, which is nice for us. I agree. I think here's the thing, though. I think the expansion topics are so frequent. There's so much of them, and they're happening so often, and they have magnitude to them. They're heavy stories.
But we also don't have actual football right now.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, so, and we won't for like a month.
I'm going to tell you right
or
now.
So.
If we were elbow deep in October football, right? Elbow deep in October, November football. And then USC and UCLA announced that they were leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. That's still the dominant conversation. We might be BCS polls. Playoff polls are coming out very soon, and this team was ranked number 1 in the AP poll before the year, and they just got upset by this small school or whatever. Like, those conversations would still be happening for sure. But if in the middle of football season, 2 absolute crown jewels of the Pac-12 announced they were leaving to go to the Big 12, that is still, in my opinion, the dominant conversation. Because number 1 in the AP poll, losing an upset game and getting bumped out of what would have been a playoff position, that's football. It happens every year for the most part, right? That happens. We're used to that. That's a football story. Crown jewels of conferences bailing on that conference to go to another conference is not a thing that happens every year. In fact, it's only been in recent memory. When would you say was the last round of schools moving around conferences that was as noteworthy as SC and UCLA going to the Big 12 or Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC?
Yeah, but Texas Oklahoma thing, was that last year or the year before?
2 seasons ago, and
Yeah.
they got 2 more before they go.
So it's been a while since that was announced.
Yeah, we're still talking about it. That's what I'm saying. There's so much weight to Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC that Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC is the catalyst of all this. We're still talking about it. I'm genuinely trying to think when the last time conference movement was as big of a story as it is. Was it 1991 when FSU joined the ACC? Because that's all I got, right? Now, there have been other schools that have moved. Maryland left the ACC and went to the Big Ten a couple of years ago. And I think all of us were like, all right, that fits, right? Like, they seem like that's a Big Ten style team. That makes sense. That's good. And then, the ACC replaced them and brought in some teams. And we're like, all right, that makes sense. You needed to fill that gap and you needed to grow. But when the SEC got Texas and Oklahoma to bail on the Big 12 and move over to the SEC, that started a conversation that is still going on. When SC and UCLA left the Pac-12 and went to the Big 10, all of us were like, "Oh, this is real now," right? Not to make light of it, but remember the first week and a half of COVID when we were getting told, "Hey, this is a thing. Like, this is a thing, and people need to pay attention to this, and it's going to be real, and it's going to be something we have to deal with." And we were all like, "Oh, well, that sucks. Hey, my basketball game's on," right? And then we started getting people who got real sick. And then celebrities. Tom Hanks, I think, was the first big name that got it. And Hanks was like, "Yo, my doctor straight up told me, do not leave this house." I mean, he was in Australia. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm in Australia for at least 2 weeks because I can't go anywhere." And there's a point in all that where we were like, "Oh, damn, this is real," right? USC, UCLA going to the Big Ten, we were like, "Oh, this is real. Realer." It had already been real, but now it's like real. Like real, like big real. And when it got to be real, big real, then there's a conversation that started happening. It's still happening. And like I said, I think that conversation is the same conversation even if this is early November and we are in the heat of the season and we got teams moving up and down polls and we got Heisman watches we're paying attention to, and we got season-ending injuries changing the entire dynamic and makeup of different teams. We are still having this conversation. It's that big. But the question I'm asking you guys, and you can text your answers to the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air, FAN, F-A-N to 71307, followed by your take. Are we to the point that we are exhausted to this conversation, even if it is the biggest conversation? Listen, we talked football, right? We talked DJ Uiagalelei and what I expect to see him this offseason. We talked Jordan McFadden in the offensive line and can they be better? We had Don Munson, the voice of the Tigers, come on to actually break down his thoughts on the end of the 21 season and the beginning of the 2022 season. We talked a lot of football the last 2 days. but the prevalent conversation was expansion, right? I sat in the room where the breakout interviews were happening. And what did Dabo get asked? Expansion. I sat in the big ballroom when Mike Norvell was taking questions from the media. And what did Mike Norvell get asked about? Expansion. Because what happens in the season, that's football. It happens every year. We love it. We're passionate about it. It's amazing. But what happens in the season happens every year in the season. It's no different. It's the same thing every year. We got chaos, pandemonium, great football, bad football, average football, and then we crown a natty, and then we complain for 250 days that there's no football on TV. That happens every year. The stuff that has been happening away from that has never happened before. It is monumental. Some people would describe it as cataclysmic. It is the end of the football world as we know it, and I do not feel fine. Now, does it bother me all that much? No, because I accepted this a year ago. I accepted this a year ago. I had when my relationship with the girl in Jacksonville ended before I moved here, right? When my relationship with the girl in Jacksonville ended, and she came to me one day and she's like, hey, I need you to find a new place to live, right? Because we live together. Hey, I need you to find a new place to live. I need you to go. You got 30 days. I need you to move. And I was like, whoa, right? I kind of knew it was coming. The writing was on the wall, but it still was like a shock out of nowhere that she's like, you need to find a new apartment. You need to find a place to go, right? And I was like, how is this so easy to you, right? Like, how is it that we've been together for X amount of time, we live together? How is it so easy for you to walk into this room and just be like, hey, Rob, hey, guy that I told I loved for a period of months, I need you to move out, and just be straight-faced about it? And her answer was, because I accepted that this was going to happen weeks ago. This is just this just felt like the time to pull the plug. She's like, I accepted we were done weeks ago. Yeah, we still live together, but I accepted we had broken up weeks ago. I have already processed this. I've already gotten over it. And I for whatever reason, that stuck with me. I'm like, all right, I get it. That's where it feels like we are with a lot of this. I accepted that this is college football's inevitability a year ago. Year and a half ago, whatever. When Texas OU announced they were moving to the SEC, actually, scratch that. When the conversations about networks started, right? The SEC network, the Big Ten network, the ACC network, the Longhorn network. And when it broke down from conference networks to school networks, the Longhorn network, the Notre Dame network, right? That was the point that I went, guys, this is all about profit, right? The ACC network is not a charity so that all of us can just be super plugged into the ACC. The SEC network is not a charity so that SEC fans can stay on top of the most recent news because they just love it. The networks are profit-making machines. And when they started turning these things into profit-making machines, people make profit. And do you know what happens when people make profit? They want more of it. So I accepted at the beginning of network creation for the ACC net, the SEC net, down the line, the Big Ten network, the Longhorn network. I accepted at that point, y'all, college football as we knew it, or at least how we felt that we knew it, how we thought that we knew it, that's dead and gone. That ain't a thing no more. As I explained to Owen, back in the day, colleges ran their own schools. And your school just did whatever you want when it came to football. You want to schedule that team? You schedule that team. Ain't no rules. And then, in the 1950s, ballpark, in the 1950s, schools started getting together with other schools that were around them. And they said, you know, we're making this amount of money doing football. But if the 8, 10, 12, 14 of us group up together and pool our resources, we'll have the opportunity to make more money. It is the exact same force that is at work today, just in a different form. The force that drew schools together to pool their resources and create mucho dinero for all of them, that force is the same force that brought the TV networks into play. You know, guys, if we put more of our stuff on TV, people will pay us more money to watch it. That same force is the same force that started having the big-time networks paying big-time money to the conferences to broadcast them exclusively. So does it shock you that the next step in that discussion is for schools to go, I can make more money in that conference now that it's easier, right? In the 1960s, Clemson, out of the ACC newly formed, it would have cost them an arm and a leg and taken 3 damn days to travel to California to play a game. But if Clemson makes the Rose Bowl, do any of us go, oh my goodness, the travel expenses. Oh my goodness, the travel logistics. No, we go, hell yeah, Clemson USC Rose Bowl, let's go. Does anybody complain in California when SC has to fly across the country to play in a playoff game in the Orange Bowl? LOL, hasn't happened, but you get my point. No, we go, hell yeah, let's go. Did any of you decry the Bahamas Bowl? No, we went, it's silly, but hell, another football game, let's go.
But you just use the word decry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fancy. No, none of you complained about that. You just start complaining when it's changing the things you like. You're cool when it changes things you don't like, right? College football has been evolving for years. This is not new. It's been evolving for years. You guys just cry when it changes the thing that you like, as opposed to the things you don't care about. It is easy to travel across the country now. What's a plane ride from California to New York? 7 hours? There are bus rides up and down the ACC that are less time than that, or more time than that. So what it is. Brandon says on the stream, it is inevitable that Rob Brown will use the word inevitable at least 2 more times this show. It's a good word, man. It sounds powerful, right? It's got some oomph behind it. All right, kids, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. My name is Rob Brown. I got 3 texts that I'll read when I come back and react to, including one that says, fan, Bemoan is next. Bemoan's a great one, too.
Chris is listening.
No, that's Stacks, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, which makes sense, too. Do not... No, I was going to use another fancy word, but I don't know if I'm using it right, and that's more embarrassing than not using it. Quit your yapping. It's a short break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Concert.
Okay. Oh, crap. I got to get a copy pulled up. Ladies and gentlemen, Do not look forward to that.
Chris was listening, as a matter of fact. I didn't send the text,
I didn't think you did.
but I was listening.
That was a perfect use of the word.
Serendipitously, I
It's a
just
great
happened to
word.
be in the.
He just came in to say serendipitously.
And also,
Behooves.
Behooves a lot. It does not behoove me.
my brother-in-law is a big fan of the word behoove, and yeah, to the point that he gets excited when he gets to use it.
Trying to think if I've ever used. I mean, of course, I'm aware of the word, but it's just not. I don't know. Why not? I mean, you know, you're not unfamiliar.
I'm side questing right now.
Yeah, that's right.
That was fun though. I like that you guys think about me when I'm not in the room.
You're always in my thoughts, Chris. One of them days, I'm gonna learn them big words. Sorry, turrets. I'm trying to get Rob Brown to look at the new Cincinnati helmets. Have you guys seen them? They're everywhere. Dude, those helmets are wicked. I gotta say, those are the best looking helmets that I've seen so far. I love the Panther helmets, but the Bengals helmets, it's such a contrast to what it normally looks like that it's just like, and I know it's just black and white, but it's cool. It's like every other tweet on my Twitter feed is that helmet. It's an exaggeration, but it's quite a bit, especially when they first dropped a few minutes ago. And I'm not a Bengals fan, but still, you know. But with those helmets, what kind of uniform are they wearing? I mean, are you wearing that helmet with the kind of uniform that I don't think you can. So I'm guessing that black and white is going to go for the entire uniform. There's no way you just pop that helmet on and then not change the uniform also. But it is everywhere. And it is the best looking helmet reveal so far. Cincinnati.
The white one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he's gone again. See, I try not to use big words around those guys because I think they think where my level of education is, and they're probably right because I went to Columbus Public Schools. So I try not to compete with big words. Oh, cool, Steven. I got to look that up. He says he saw that
It's all white. They're going all white. All white and black. It's a cool look.
It's very good. That's the best looking Cincinnati helmet I've ever seen. And I grew up in Ohio, so. There for a few minutes, everyone was tweeting about that. McAfee, a bunch of people, just because it's like, I think I've seen more tweets about that helmet than any other helmet so far. Oh, there it is.
Trying to find a full uniform mock-up.
You know, they showed a picture in the thumbnail, but not the. There we go. Okay. All right. It's got the black and white stripe down the pants.
Yeah, I couldn't find one with the pants, but there's the
and the black and white on the top.
Going Siberian.
But it's still got the orange and stuff on the front.
On the logo, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need that.
No, you could have just made that solid black and it'd have been super dope. I like it though.
Yes, you do, Steven.
The Jets dropped their alternate helmet either yesterday or this morning.
Yeah, I just saw that too. It was good except for the middle part. I didn't like the.
But that black and Kelly green, that's a good color combo. Couple of texts on the Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Texter said, Rob, I'll play. Let's discuss if a hot dog is a sandwich.
I got to do this. I got to. Hey, boy, what's Kelly Green? I don't know what that is. You just right before we went back on the air, we were talking about Cincinnati's helmets, and you mentioned Jets helmets, and you said Kelly Green.
Kelly Green.
What is Kelly Green?
It's like a dark green. It's like a forest green.
Okay, so
you can just Google it, and it'll actually show you the color.
Yeah, I could do that, but I've got Google across from me, so what do I need that?
Well, I say Kelly Green. Kelly Green is it's like darker than the green you see in your head. It's not fully dark green. I would say that.
Wait a minute, Keegan got it for me. He said Robin's Underoos are Kelly Green. All right, I know what it is now.
So we were talking about during the break, and I'm gonna get these texts in a second. We were talking about the break. The NFL changed its rules so that teams can have an alternate helmet this year, right? In the past, alternate helmets weren't allowed. It's a branding thing, right? But they changed the rule this year to where teams can wear an alternate helmet. And so in order to accommodate the alternate helmet, a lot of teams have decided to roll them out with either throwback unis or like a new contemporary alternate uni. So, for instance, the Patriots for 3 games this year are bringing back the old helmet with Patriot Pat on the side. You know it, the Revolutionary War soldier, but he's spiking a football, right, or hiking a football. They're bringing that back with old school unis. The New York Giants are going to be bringing back the old classic blue Giants uniforms with the dark blue helmet. I will tell you, my insignificant gripe of the week, Zoe, I hate it when teams wear a color jersey and a color helmet, but the color of the jersey and the helmet aren't the same color, unless they're like, not color, different shades of the same color, right? Like the Giants jersey is going to be a lighter blue and their helmets are going to be a dark blue. So they got a dark blue helmet, a light blue jersey. I don't like the look. Just wear a white helmet with a blue jersey, or a blue jersey with a white jersey with a blue helmet, and I'm good with that. The Saints have rolled out an alternate helmet that is reversed. It's going to be the gold fleur-de-lis on a black helmet as opposed to the black fleur-de-lis on a gold helmet. It's not awful, but as a Saints fan, I don't love it. Like, it's all right, but I don't love it.
I think it's cool though that a lot of these helmets we've seen have been a black helmet with something.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati just went the total opposite.
Cincinnati rolled out all white. It is a white helmet, white jersey, white pants, but instead of the orange tiger stripes, they're going to be black stripes. So it's very, what is it, Bengal tiger? It's a Bengal tiger look.
Which there are white Bengal tigers, so yeah.
And it's a good look. Some of these teams have absolutely crushed the alternate game, some not so much. Carolina's going with the black helmet. I really like black with that Carolina blue and silver is a sleek look. I have said for the last couple of years, I think the best uniforms in the game were the Saints all-white Power Ranger jersey, right? I think the Saints all-white are the best uniform in the NFL with the gold helmet. It's a good look. I don't like them with the black helmet. It's not a good look. The Jets earlier today rolled out a black helmet with a Kelly Green Jets logo. Now, it's the same Jets logo, but now the logo is Kelly Green and the helmet itself is black. They're going to rock that with black unis and Kelly Green numbers. That's a great look. All black is a clean look. Always the complementary color makes it or breaks it. The Saints all black with gold trim is a great look. The Jets all black with a Kelly Green trim is a good look. Don't love the Giants. I'm not a particularly big fan of the Patriots throwback unis either. I think the new unis are better with the red, blue, and silver than the old school full white with red and blue trim. But that's just me. So
yeah, back then they were losing all the time.
Yeah.
And that's when you would see that logo, you would think,
I'll tell you another classic that I think we might see this year, and I hate. Why the hell did the Buccaneers ever go creamsicle orange, right? Why was that ever in consideration? I think that they are going to wear those at least once, maybe twice this year. Creamsicle's a bad look, man. It's a bad color. So anyway, that's what we got to talking about that led us to this conversation. Some of these teams are knocking it out of the park other teams swing and a miss.
I did look up Kelly Green because you chastised me, so of course I did it. And so it comes from Ireland, of course, and Kelly. It's named after the Kelly family, according to what I read.
There you go. I didn't know that part.
And one of the first things that people were asking on Google is Kelly green a real color?
Yeah.
Because like me, they probably had never heard of it before until, just a few moments ago.
Every shade has a name, right? And there's hunter green. Hunter green obviously is hunter green because it's a much darker green. You wear it in the forest. It's more camo than if you wore lime green,
Right.
which is called lime green because it's the color of a lime.
Hey, I've heard of periwinkle. I've heard of puce.
Chartreuse.
I've heard of chartreuse. I've heard of puce. I've heard of all that stuff. I've never heard of Kelly Green before.
Yeah, Kelly Green, hunter green, etc. The only time you lose me is when you get into the white palette, right? And you got eggshell and off-white and slightly more off-white. And
Really
beige
important when
and
you're painting
tan.
your walls in your house, though.
I listen. I lived with a young lady back in Florida a number of years ago, and she wanted to paint the living room, and she wanted to go neutral, so she wanted to go white. I think one of my biggest relationship fights of all time was, what shade of white should we go? And basically, after a while, I legit said to her, I don't care what white you painted because this already feels like an insane asylum. I was a jerk, but...
Also, you actually said that.
Yeah.
It's probably not a good move.
4 days of debate over which shade of white should we paint it. So just pick one!
Here's how I solve those debates is whatever you want. I'll paint it for you. Whatever you want.
I accept that.
Yeah.
No. You have to have an opinion. No, I don't. I don't care. Just pick one of these. I had 73 placards of different shades of white available to me.
As long as it's not a certain color of pea green. We were renting a place one time, and they decided to paint the dining room that color. We couldn't eat in there just because the color of the wall just kind of made you feel queasy.
Some of these teams are doing really well. Like the Saints alternate helmet, Keegan said the Saints helmet has the Saints have a gold stripe down the middle, but if you get up close to it, it's a bunch of little fleur-de-lis all down the helmet. And that's actually a really cool feature of it, right? But I don't know why. I just don't like the black with the gold fleur-de-lis. The gold with the black's better. Carolina's all black alternate is freaking dope.
When are we getting helmets that like change when you turn your head? You know those
Chameleon?
those posters that change
The Oregon Ducks
how
did
you look
that.
at it? Did
the
they?
Oregon Ducks wore the what do they call it? It's called like chroma something or chroma whatever. But the Oregon wore helmets at one point that were different colors depending on what angle and what light angle you looked at it from. And I thought it was cool as hell. Give me some wild stuff. But some of these teams are just with it.
Is LEDs going too far?
Maybe a bit.
It's coming. You'll see.
All right, a couple of texts before we take our last break of the day. Texter said, Rob, do you need people in that Dwight Schrute role? I feel like most of you guys are in that Dwight Schrute role of let's antagonize the show a little bit. Don't worry, it makes the show better, but I feel like a chunk of you guys are the Dwight Schrute to my Michael Scott, without a doubt.
By the way, don't use that as a deterrent. Keep coming.
Yeah, no, we encourage it. It
That's
makes the show better.
Biggest word I'm probably going to use today. Trying to keep up.
Texter says bemoan is next. Yeah, I like big words. Decry, bemoan, acquiesce.
And if you were watching the stream, Chris was listening. And
Yeah, he
came
walked
here,
in to say big words to us.
because
He said serendipitously. Great word.
The radio is working again in the restroom. There was some Wi-Fi problems, and of course, I went in and put it on the fan so people could hear Rob and I while they're in the restroom.
If anybody's in there right now.
Oh, it's so deep. You probably just helped someone a great deal.
Texter says, Rob, inevitable, channeling his inner Thanos. I used that before Thanos. He used it well, but I used it before Thanos.
Josh Brolin's a lot older than you, so I don't know.
Texter says, out of the last 4 teams to move, only one is a top 10 team. Texas couldn't sniff the top 25. Now they will be a preseason top 10 every year via ESPN. I lost the end of that text, but I get the gist of where you are taking that one.
Well, I agree. The only relevant team out of the 4 that are moving soon is Oklahoma.
Oh, here goes. They know where their money goes. Here's the thing. You guys are I think, losing the thread of this.
When's the last time Texas was good? When's the last time USC or UCLA were good?
Vince Young. My man Chris Lewis, president of the Triumph and notorious New York Giants fan, just texted, "Stop it."
I would ask Chris, though, if you had really bad uniforms but you won a lot of games, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, nobody cares if you're winning. So the last time Texas was good, Vince Young was there, right? We know that. Here's the thing about that, though. It doesn't matter. You guys have lost the thread. Winning and losing on the football field is irrelevant. All that matters is what's the market share. Texas has one of the biggest college football market shares available. USC has one of the biggest market shares available. UCLA, maybe not as big as USC, but they are in the heart of Los Angeles, and now the Big Ten owns LA.
See,
Oklahoma,
I get what
biggest
you're
market
saying.
share.
When Maryland and Rutgers moved to the Big Ten, was there a how are they moving all this? No one cared.
No one, correct.
Because it's Maryland. No, I'm saying
Correct.
you're absolutely right, but still at the same time, you still want to get good teams in your conference.
As a fan, yes. And yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. Texas makes more money if Texas is good. Oklahoma makes more money if Oklahoma is good. But at the end of the day, to the Southeastern Conference, their theory is this. Texas and Oklahoma bring buku dinero even when they suck to the SEC, right? Anybody want to argue that? No, because you're wrong if you do. Now, Texas and Oklahoma have just increased the amount of resources available to their football team by a factor of X, which means what? They have more to dump into their programs to be good again. And what is going to happen if Steve Sarkisian at Texas, with an influx of an extra $20 million, $30 million a year into the Texas University of Texas football program, what does Steve Sarkisian do if that football program has $20 million more in the pocket every year to spend on football? They're going to get better. And what happens when they get better? That number goes up more, right? It's not about how good they are right now. It's about how much money they bring to the table and how increasing those resources will make them better to bring more money back to the table down the line. That's all that matters. If you're looking at this through a football lens, you do not have the thread. You have lost it. You are in the wrong woods looking for the wrong animal. Okay? Market share. USC, UCLA, Texas, Oklahoma have a fat market share and a lot of money. They will be more profitable for the SEC, which in turn means the SEC can make them better. That's it. That's all that matters. Texas said, if Miami and FSU would live up to expectations, the ACC would have 3 powers that equals the SEC once Oklahoma gets there. I get it. Again, you're looking at it through a football angle. Would the ACC be better off if Miami and FSU were better? Yes, obviously. But the SEC is the powerhouse, both on the field and off. And all of this expansion talk is all centered on off the field stuff. That's what matters. The ACC will be much better if Clemson or if Miami and FSU get back to good. You're absolutely correct. But would it be enough to compete with what the Big Ten and the SEC have now? No. If I put Usain Bolt on my track team, but the team I'm racing in the 10,000 meter has a 9,000 meter head start, it doesn't matter if Usain Bolt is on the start line. They're too far gone. You can't win. And I'm worried that's where they might be. Let's take a break. Twitter Trending Topics wraps up the show. When we come back, you're listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
So I don't know. Is it Usain or Usain?
It's Usain.
Are you sure?
Relatively. But, I mean, not now that you said that. Whoa, whoa. My little puppy's getting spayed today.
Oh,
So my weekend's just going to be sitting with the cone of shame.
I will be helping my daughter move. So she's moving into another house. Cameron's going to be all alone for the first time, which he wants until you actually get it and realize how quiet it is, especially when you had a 3-year-old in the house and now the 3-year-old's gone. It's going to be really, really quiet. Plus, the house he bought, the ceiling they put up in the kitchen, they put a ceiling over the ceiling that was there originally, and parts of the one underneath are exposed, so heat came in and all of it's dipping.
Oh, no.
So now
Oh, no.
we're trying to figure out how to what to do as far as replacing that entire ceiling. It's not that far of a stretch,
Right.
but still it's going to be stuff that neither one of us have ever done before. So that's going to be fun. So I don't plan on being able to move really well by Monday, physically. We're going to watch a lot of Magnolia Network and HD TV, and so we'll be good.
Tough day.
They tell you don't know the Magnolia Network.
I don't know.
It's another network of a bunch of do-it-yourself stuff.
Ah.
It's owned by Chip and Joanne Gaines. It's actually a pretty good. My wife watches it all the time. But the best thing about it is they've got her convinced. All these shows she's watching, she's now starting to get into modern stuff.
Uh-huh.
So she's starting to want to modernize colors and furniture and everything. So finally, I get to be modern.
Welcome to 2022.
I'm going to get there before I retire. Yes.
Trey said, if you were Usain Bolt, do you really brag to the ladies about being the fastest man alive? Trey, in the Justice League animated series, there was a scene where Hot Girl and Flash were talking. And Hot Girl insulted Flash. And Flash said, I'm the fastest man alive. And she said, maybe that's why you can't get a date.
Time for Twitter Trending Tops, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet, and he will tell everybody in the entire world, the universe, the metaverse, and all that kind of stuff why it is trending. The first thing is trending is tiefling.
So there's going to be a lot of nerd stuff trending today for a bunch of different reasons. You're going to see a lot of D&D stuff trending. I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, I am assuming, and I'm probably not wrong, that this is connected to the drop of the Dungeons & Dragons trailer, in which about halfway through the trailer you meet a character that I was already assuming was a tiefling, who then turns out to not only be kind of a badass in the trailer, but also drops a heck of a burn on Chris Pine's character at the end, who turns out to be a bard, which is hilarious. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, yes, I have had girlfriends. Shut up.
Yeah, I don't get those people. I mean, those are the same people who nerd out about football or about, some sport and then don't get it when someone doesn't watch sports. And there are people out there. They're weird, but they are out there.
Hey, like what you like. I am a D&D guy. I have been playing for a few years. It is thoroughly enjoyable. As a matter of fact, for those of you that are D&D nerds, all 7 of you listening, starting, by the way, I think our date, by the way, Zoe, is August 27th. Starting August 27th, right after, is this you weren't surprising people on your show with this, were you?
No, we've already talked about it. Yeah.
Starting August 27th after Upstate Pulse, one Saturday a month, me, Lonzo, Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall, Pappy, a.k.a. Cam, and a couple of other folks are going to be live streaming a D&D game that I will be the DM for. And again, yes, I have had multiple girlfriends. Get off me, dog.
Lots of backstories and intrigues. A lot of secrets. Can't wait to find out. Cannot find out how that thing's going to play out. All right, the next thing that's trending is Disney Plus.
I don't know why it's trending.
So a lot of stuff is dropping right now. So it's not surprising because you were doing a show. Disney Plus is trending because tomorrow Logan, Deadpool 1, and Deadpool 2 will be available to watch on Disney Plus.
Are they censoring Deadpool?
From what I understand, no.
Good.
I don't know if there'll be like an adult section on Disney Plus.
Right? Logan
by the way,
specifically.
There should be.
Yeah.
There absolutely should be.
Logan and Deadpool. In fact, the adult section would just be Logan and Deadpool.
Yeah.
But it'd be worth it. That being said, real quick, and I want to talk about this. I wanted to get to it earlier, but we got to do the expansion talk. NFL Network looks like they are officially going ahead with NFL Plus, which will be an NFL streaming service, which is going to be interesting because it will give you the opportunity to access games that are outside of your market, and you can pay more to not worry about blackout rules and be able to get into games. The other option they're giving you is you can alternate sound. You can watch the game, but actually listen to the home or away radio broadcast.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So if you've got like a longtime broadcaster that you miss listening to because you don't live in your market anymore, you can listen to their broadcast. Here's the one issue I have with it. You can't pull up old stuff. You can't go back and watch old games. Like I can't go back and watch the Saints beat the Colts in the Super Bowl. I wish they'd add that feature.
I like having the ultimate broadcast because everyone who watches sports believes that the national broadcast team, whichever station is on, has a slant against your team. It always feels that way. Well, they just don't like the Chiefs, or they don't like the Panthers, or they don't like the Saints. Now you can actually go to that radio, or is it a TV broadcast?
No, you'll watch the TV broadcast, but you can listen to the audio broadcast from your team.
Because a lot of those also have their own TV broadcasts.
Right.
So, but still, being able to listen to that will be much, much better.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the day. That's going to do it for the week. We appreciate you guys listening. Hope you had a great time. Half as much fun as we enjoyed doing it, which was great. Thanks again to the folks in Charlotte. Thanks to Owen Watterson for busting hump for me the last couple of days in Charlotte. Thanks to Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall for getting us all set up. To Lonzo for putting up with the chaotic BS that I threw at him the last 2 days. And thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it greatly. Have a great weekend. Do not drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here Monday to do it all over again right here on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. Trey. Cody won the Macho Man bet. Because, what?
So you were supposed to...
No, well, I told him it was going to have to happen after the vacation because I'm not going to, like, cobble together BS Macho Man costume. I'm going to get a good Macho Man costume, but I can't throw money at it until after this vacation is over. So that is going to happen. I bet that Schwarber would beat Pujols in the first round, and if Schwarber went, I bet that if Schwarber went first, he would have 5 or more home runs over Albert Pujols, right? He beat him by 5 or better. And that if Pujols went first, so that Schwarber only had to beat him by 1, that Schwarber would do it inside of I think I said a minute 45, which would have been not in the entire first round. He would pass Pujols in a minute 45 and not need the bonus time. Schwarber sucked. He sucked. He said it himself. He was walking out during his timeout when he had like 2. He called timeout and he walked out of the box and the camera picked him up going, man, I suck. So I lost that bet, which means that after I get back from vacation, I get back on August 10th. Yeah, I get back August 10th. So probably either that next Saturday, actually probably the Saturday after that, so like August 17th or whatever, 20th, I think, I will have to do the entire nationally syndicated baseball program dressed as Macho Man Randy Savage, and we'll have to intro and outro every single segment in a Macho Man Randy Savage voice. So if I'm out on Monday, that's why.
Well, here's the thing, though. You mentioned on this show that you would also do it one day here. I think
I
I was going to say, I don't know if you forgot that. They didn't forget it. I didn't forget
I will
it.
come and dress well because what's going to happen is Cody Decker is going to join us on
Right,
the show
right.
that day, and I will be the Macho Man. So I will be dressed as Macho Man all day, and I will do the intro and outro on the segment that Cody joins us. I'm not going to do every segment of the show as Macho Man because I'll die. Hey, kids, thanks for watching. Have a great